Make sure your phones, devices are on vibrate. As we face Jerusalem, get ready to open up the Lord's Prayer.
Our Father which art in heaven.
Our Father which art in heaven.
Hallowed be thy name.
Hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy will be done in earth.
Thy will be done in earth.
As it is in heaven.
As it is in heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread.
Give us this day our daily bread.
And forgive us our debts.
And forgive us our debts.
As we give our debtors.
As we give our debtors.
And lead us not into temptation.
And lead us not into temptation.
But deliver us from evil.
But deliver us from evil.
For thine is the kingdom.
For thine is the kingdom.
And the power.
And power.
And the glory.
And glory.
Forever. Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord.
He's good.
For he is good.
And his mercy endures forever.
And his mercy endures forever.
Praise the Lord God of Israel.
Praise the Lord God of Israel.
For he is good.
For he is good.
And his mercy endures forever.
And his mercy endures forever.
In Jesus' name we pray.
In Jesus' name we pray.
The Holy One of Israel.
The Holy One of Israel.
The King of Kings.
The King of Kings.
And the Lord of Lords.
And Lord of Lords.
The one true God.
The one true God.
And there is no other.
And there is no other.
Amen.
Amen.
Today's scripture reading comes from Psalms 53 in its entirety and reads, "The fool hath said in his heart, there is no God. Corrupt are they, and have done abominable iniquity. There is none that doeth good. God looked down from heaven upon the children of men to see if there were any that did understand and did seek God. Every one of them is gone back. They are altogether become guilty. There is none that doeth good, no, not one. Have the workers of iniquity no knowledge, who eat up my people as they eat bread? They have not called upon God. There were they in great fear, where no fear was. For God hath scattered the bones of him that encampeth against thee. Thou hast put them to shame, because God hath despised them. O that the salvation of Israel will come out of Zion, when God bringeth back the captivity of his people. Jacob shall rejoice, and Israel shall be glad." I read to you Psalms 53 in its entirety. I pray the Lord add a blessing by the hearing, knowing, and reading of his holy word. In Jesus' holy name we pray, amen.
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 You have a selection of choir? We gotta get fun out to start getting choir together.
We got choir right out there. Happy Sabbath, family.
Peace,
Happy
peace.
Sabbath.
Peace.
Jesus, you're the center of my joy, my joy. All that's good and perfect come from you. You're the heart of my contentment, hope for all I do. Jesus, you're the center of my joy. When I lost my direction, you are the compass for my way. You are the fire and light when nights was warm and cold. In sadness, you are the laughter that shadows all my fears. When I was all alone, your hand was there to hold and hold. Jesus, you're the center of my joy, of my joy. And all that's good and perfect come from you. And you're the heart of my contentment, hope for all I do. Jesus, you're the center of my joy. In you is where I find pleasure, in the simple things in life. You are the music, the meadows and the strings, the voices of the children, my family and my home. You You are the source and finish of my highest dreams. And whoa, Jesus, you're the center of my joy, And all that's good and perfect come from you. You're the heart of my contentment, hope for all I do. Jesus, you are the center of my joy. And Jesus, you are the center of my joy. You see, you're my everything. You're my everything. Oh, Jesus, you're the center of my joy. Thank you. There's the mark there, right?
That's it, Lord. We want you. So.
Oh man. Classic.
All right, class. Blessed Sabbath, everybody.
Blessed
It was
Sabbath, my
good to
brother.
see you all. And again, another 7th day. It's a blessing that we all made it. And we are amongst the living. Because if you're amongst the living, you with the dead. So it's definitely a blessing to be here before you guys on the Lord's Saturday. And I ain't gonna forget, it's always good to be seen. Title of the class today is the dietary law. You are what you eat. And dietary law, you are what you eat. You know, the dietary law is still good today. It was good yesterday with prophets, and it's going to be good forever. You know, dietary law is something that, you know, we may tend to take lightly. And, you know, not those that are abiding in the word of truth, but, you know, those that are, you know, still abiding in the world, still abiding in darkness. It's because, you know, it's a light thing to be taken. Because, you know, I remember a comedian some time ago, I think his name was Griffin. I forget his name, but anyhow, a famous comedian, you know, he made a joke pertaining to, you know, you mean to tell me that God is going to judge me on my diet? And the fact of the matter is, he is going to judge you on your diet, along with many other judgments that come out of the law, statutes, and commandments. But, you know, this is something that, you know, people take lightly, as if like, if you can't keep your appetite in check, then you can't keep your mind in check in subjection to God. You really can't. So the reason why it is you are what you eat is because that's basically how it is. You know, yeah, if you want to say I don't eat meat, or when we get into lesson, we'll look at it as like, well, I'm vegan, or, you know, I don't eat meat. That's what we covering, what you consume. It could be, we're going to deal with from a spiritual aspect as well as a physical aspect. But we see is that, you know, the statement could be made, well, what if I'm a vegan, or what if I'm a vegetarian? Well, guess what? The dietary law is a law given to you as to what you can consume on meats. When we read the dietary law, it's not talking about nothing pertaining to vegetables. Now, if you want to decide not to eat meat, hey, that's fine. Like myself, I don't eat meat. You know, but if this brother decides to want to eat some chicken or some lamb, like, it's nothing wrong with that, because we can read that within the dietary law. So the dietary law is going to apply to those who are consuming flesh, which would be clean flesh. But we're going to realize inside the class is that this dietary law was all the way in the beginning. You know, it didn't just come about, you know, when we go to the law within Leviticus chapter 11 and Deuteronomy chapter 14. It was already here from the beginning, and that's what we're going to deal with in the beginning of the class. So what we're going to do is we're going to open it up in Genesis chapter 6, and we're going to take a look at this dietary law, and we're going to see is that, you know, God told Noah to set this dietary law in check. And that's what we're going to read here in the book of Genesis. So let's pick it up at Genesis chapter 6. Let's pick it up at verse 8. Genesis chapter 6 and verse 8. When you get it, go ahead and read it, bro.
But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord.
Go ahead.
These are the generations of Noah. Noah was a just man and perfect in his generations. And Noah walked with God.
So Noah, he found grace in the eyes of God. Because, Noah and his family, they was the only survivors after the flood. They was the ones that made it through the flood. But we see it that way. Noah found grace in the eyes of God because what? He was a perfect and upright man. That's what it says in verse 9. It says, these are the generations of Noah. Noah was a just man and perfect in his generations. So they like Noah in his generations, he was the only one that God saw to fit the requirement of being perfect. All right, but keep reading though, bro. Verse 11. I'm sorry. Skip down to verse 17 and read that.
And behold, I, even I, do bring a flood of waters upon the earth.
Go ahead.
To destroy all flesh.
Keep reading.
Wherein is the breath of life.
So wherein is the breath of life. So we see that inside this flesh, in order to keep this flesh alive, you have to have some breath inside of it. So we see it's called the breath of life. But God is for to destroy all flesh. We're not just talking about mankind, we're talking about animals as well. But he's going to have Noah to preserve some of the animals. That's what we're going to get at. So we see is that way. It says, and behold, I, even I, do bring a flood of water upon the earth to destroy all flesh. Go ahead.
Wherein is the breath of life from under heaven, and everything that is in the earth shall die.
Keep going, verse 18.
But with thee will I establish my covenant.
So now with Noah, he's going to establish the covenant with Noah, right? He's going to kill everything off in the earth. And with Noah, the Lord said, I will establish my covenant. Keep going.
And thou shalt come into the ark, thou and thy sons, and thy wife, and thy sons' wives with thee.
So you're going to have Noah, his 3 boys, their wives, and Noah's wives. These are the ones that's going to not be destroyed of the flood that the Lord is going to bring upon the earth. Right? But what is it in verse 19, bro?
And of every living thing of all flesh, 2 of every sort shalt thou bring into the ark.
Go ahead.
To keep them alive with thee. They shall be male and female.
So of every sort of animals, that's what he's referring to. You're going to bring 2 of everything. You're going to bring the male and the female. What else are you going to bring? Verse 20.
Of fowls after their kind.
Go ahead.
And of cattle after their kind. Of every creeping thing of the earth after his kind. 2 of every sort shall come unto thee to keep them alive.
So keep them alive because what? They come together, they're going to multiply. They're going to be fruitful and multiply like God told man to be. The animals, they're going to do that as well when you got the male and the female together. All right? But what is it in verse 21 though?
And take thou unto thee of all food that is eaten.
Go ahead.
And thou shalt gather it to thee, and it shall be for food for thee and for them.
Keep reading.
Thus did Noah, according to all that God commanded him, so did he.
So he did what God told him to. See, problem is that we have today is we don't want to do what God tells us to do. You know what I mean? And that's how we cover in this class. We cover in this class is because God gave us a law according to what you are to consume inside of your belly. And there are certain foods that you can eat, and there are certain foods that you can't eat. But this is a commandment given from God. Noah didn't come up with this. We saw what in verse 18 it says, but with thee will I establish my covenant. Inside of this covenant, we're going to see is the dietary law is going to be inside of the covenant. Right? But we see that what? Noah was perfect and a just man because of what verse 22 said. Thus did Noah according to all that God commanded him. So did he. So he didn't just be like, nah, you know what? Like, why we got to take 2 of each? Like, why we can't just take the female? And just do what we please with the female. Why we can't do that, God? Or better yet, like, why do we even need these animals? Like, Noah didn't come back at God with that. He did what God told him, what thus said the Lord, right? But we see is that in verse 21, the food that Noah took into the ark, it wasn't unclean food. It was food for him and the animals. That's what it said in 21. All right, but let's go over to chapter 7, and let's pick it up at verse 1. Chapter 7, and let's pick it up at verse 1. When you get it, go ahead and read it, bro.
The Lord said unto Noah, Come down and all thy house into the ark.
Go ahead.
For thee have I seen righteous before me in this generation.
So he's seen righteous in Noah. You know, it's kind of like under the same stipulation in our time. You know, there's no righteous being taught of God in the land. You know, nobody understands about keeping the Sabbath. Everybody want to go to church tomorrow, but you can't read that nowhere inside of the Bible. Everybody want to say it's okay to eat whatever I want to, just pray over it. You can't read that nowhere in the Bible. What you got was deception from Satan. And what Satan did was he put it in the mouth of these preachers. That's what he did. So now, you know, when you feel as if like, oh, okay, hey, I can eat whatever I want to just pray over it, we're going to see inside this class is that if you still breaking the dietary law, guess what? You're going to be killed when the Lord returns. What we see is that what God said that Noah was righteous before him, his generations. What it say in verse 12?
Of every clean beast thou shalt take to thee by seven.
So we see is that clean beast is going to be the majority on the table as far as in what's going to be multiplied, because these clean beasts are going to be consumed the most. Or are they supposed to be consumed the most? So we see is that what? The Lord told Noah to take every clean beast thou shalt take to thee by sevens. So you got 7 females and you got 7 males. That made 14. All right, but keep reading them.
The male and his female, and a beast that are not clean by 2.
So now you got the unclean animals. You know, it's less of them. Why? Because they're not supposed to be consumed. All right. So we see is that what? The Lord said take 2 females, or he said take 2 males, which would be 2 females, 2 males. We got 4. So we got 14 clean animals, which would be 14 what? 7 males, 7 females. We got 4 unclean, which would be 2 males and 2 females, right? What else is it say in verse 3?
Of fowls also of the air by 7.
So we see even the fowls of the air by 7. 14 as well. So you got practically a huge dish to choose from. You know, you got 14 clean beasts that are on the earth. You got 14 fowls of the air. So why would you decide to go against the grain? You know, it's plenty of chicken out here.
Mm-hmm.
Plenty of. You know, you got Zaxby's, you got Chick-fil-A. You know what I mean? What you got?
Praise the Lord.
Is that you got Kentucky Fried Chicken? Like you got plenty of chicken. Why you want to go and get some pig? Why you want to go and get like that's not what the Lord made sevens of. Nah, we see is that he said Noah take 14, 7 females, 7 males of clean, and 4, 2 males and 2 females of unclean. And he also said the same thing pertaining to the fowls of the air. Keep reading. To keep seed alive up on the face of the earth. That's what the whole purpose was for. To keep seed alive. Let's go on to Genesis chapter 8, bro. Genesis chapter 8 now, and let's pick up at verse 1. Because we hear the song, how some of the churches play went in the ark 2 by 2. Nah, that's not what we read. We didn't read that they went into the ark 2 by 2. We read that they went to the ark clean animals 7 by 7. And unclean 2 by 2. That's what we saw, but nah, we didn't read the song that the church sang. So that's why you got to read this up, brothers and sisters. That's why you got to read it, so therefore you can get a good understanding. All right. So now let's go on to Genesis chapter 8, and let's pick it up at verse 1. Genesis chapter 8 and verse 1. We get it? Go ahead and read it, bro.
And God remembered Noah and every living thing, and all the cattle that was with him in the ark.
Go ahead.
And God made a wind pass over the earth, and the waters assuaged.
Keep reading.
The fountains also of the deep, and the windows of heaven were stopped.
So the windows of heaven, rain stopped. Because in other scriptures it say the windows of heaven was open. And that means that water was just pouring out. It said from the heavens and the earth. So it's like the earth was just filling up with water. But now we come into Genesis chapter 8 to see is that how the Lord stopped the flood. Alright, so we see that in verse 2, it says the fountain also the deep and the waters of heaven were stopped. And the rain from heaven was restrained. What is it in skip down to verse 15 and read that, bro.
And God spake unto Noah, saying, Go forth of the ark,
Go ahead.
thou and thy wife, and thy sons wives with thee.
Keep reading.
Bring forth with thee every living thing that is with thee.
So now Noah, go into the ark, bring out your family and every living thing with thee. Keep reading.
Of all flesh both of fowl and of cattle, and of every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth,
Keep reading.
that they may breed abundantly in the earth, and be fruitful and multiply upon the earth.
So he gave the same commandment to the animals, he gave it to man also. You know, he told man to do that in what I think Genesis chapter 3. You know, by being fruitful and multiply. Because what? We had to replenish the earth. Alright, so now he's doing the same thing with the animals. Because now if the Lord had flooded everything, if all the animals, I'm pretty sure it was more than 14 animals that was in the earth at that time. But God just said, hey, all we need is 7 females and 7 males. All we need is 7 females of the fowls and 7 females. 7 females of the fowls and 7 males of the fowls. All we need is 2 males of the unclean and 2 females of the unclean. That's all we need. Everything else, we got destroyed in the flood. Alright? But we see is that what God said to the animals, breed them abundantly in the earth and be fruitful and multiply upon the earth. 18, go ahead.
And Noah went forth, and his sons and his wife, and his sons' wives with him.
Keep going.
Every beast, every creeping thing, and every fowl, and whatsoever creepeth upon the earth, after their kinds, went forth out of the ark.
Go ahead.
And Noah built an altar unto the Lord, and took of every clean beast, and of every clean fowl, and offered burnt offerings on the altar.
You see that? Like, this is the purpose as well as to why these animals had to be clean. Because they was sacrificed unto God. You know, like, you're not going to see no sacrifices that are unclean unto God. You know, Aaron kids, they got killed behind something like that because they offered up a strange sacrifice. So apparently, it must have wasn't something clean. It was strange. So he says that what? God said, Noah, what he did in verse 20, he built an altar to God, and he took every clean beast and every clean fowl and offered it as a sacrifice of God. What the Lord said in verse 21?
And the Lord smelled a sweet savor.
Go ahead.
And the Lord said in his heart, I will not again curse the ground anymore for man's sake.
So it's kind of like God, you know, he smelled something good. You know what I mean? Like he smelled the sweet Savior smell. That's what it says. You know, that's just like, you know, your wife cooking your favorite dish in the kitchen. You know what I mean? And you smell that aroma throughout the whole house. Clean foods. That's what it's like God had took place in. He got these clean animals being offered up unto him, and it was as a sweet smelling Savior. And it says, now he said, and the Lord said in his heart, I will not curse the ground anymore for man's sake. Keep reading.
The imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth.
Keep going.
Neither will I again smite any more everything living as I have done.
So now this is the covenant, or this is within inside the covenant. Because he ain't going to flood the earth anymore. You know, that's what he's saying right here, because he killed a whole lot of animals. If out of all of the animals that was upon the earth, all he took was 14, seven of each pair, and then he did the same with the fowls of the air, and then he did the same with the unclean. Like the Lord did a whole lot of killing. So he said, hey, you know what? I will not curse the ground for man's sake, even though from their youth up their imagination wicked. Like I'm not going to curse the ground. Then he also said, and I again smite, and he said, neither will I again smite any more everything living as I have done. 22.
While the earth remaineth, seed time and harvest.
That's it on that. Let's go over to Genesis chapter 9. And what we're looking at, we're just looking at this dietary law. Dietary law was always, this was a covenant that God had established with Noah. You know, and we understand that it just come about in Leviticus. Leviticus was established when Israel came out of Egypt and they went inside of the wilderness and established the covenant with God. That's when the priesthood came on the scene. But this dietary law is already here before the priesthood got on the scene. We're looking at Noah, you know, he's fulfilling the duty of a priest. You know, because he's offering up a sacrifice unto God. All right? That's what we read. But we see that it was clean foods that was offered up to God. Now let's go on to Genesis chapter 9, and let's pick up at verse 1. Genesis chapter 9 and verse 1. When you get it, go ahead and read it, bro.
And God blessed Noah and his sons, and said unto them, be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth.
So just like he told the animals to be fruitful and multiply upon the earth, he told Noah and his sons as well. You know, have you some babies to replenish this earth. Verse 2.
And the fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth,
Keep reading.
and upon every fowl of the air.
So we see is that now the fear of us is going to be the dread of animals. You know, that's how when you see a cat, he walking down the alley or down your street, you could just stomp your feet at him and he's going to take out running because he fears you. You know, even with lions, you know, they fear men as well because we got the type of wisdom to kill a lion. Like now, if you get caught slipping, yeah, the lion will kill you. But, you know, man is a little more crafty than a lion because he could take a lion down. You know. So we see is that even in a lion, he's fearing a man as well. Right? And he's supposed to be the king of the jungle. But he still fear man. Why? It's because what we read right in verse 2. The fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth. What else to say, bro?
And upon every fowl of the air, upon all that moveth upon the earth,
Keep reading.
and upon all the fishes of the sea. Into your hand are they delivered.
So into our hands are they delivered. You know, that's why you see on Discovery Channel, people going out deep sea fish, guess what they kill their hook? Great white sharks. You know? A great white shark though. Yeah, I'm not gonna jump in the water and try to tame a great white shark. But we wise enough to throw out some bait and catch them on the hook, take them back into the port and sell them. You know, because what? The Lord has given them into the man's hand. But taking them back into the port and selling the shark, it's not clean. You know, that's unclean. But I'm just getting at the point of, you know, you got some vicious sea life that man can tame, as well as vicious animals that's on the earth that man can tame, as because of what we see right in verse 2. The Lord said he's going to deliver them into our hands. But what the Lord said in verse 3 though?
Every moving thing that liveth shall be meat for you.
So now we taking off, you know, the vegan diet or the fruit diet that that Adam and Eve was on. You know, Adam and Eve, they was, you know, before they sinned against God, they was just eating vegetables or fruit. But once they sinned against God, now that's been taken off the table. Yeah, you can still decide to eat fruit and vegetables. But now we see is that God is saying now, this flesh is going to be given to you for meat. And we talking about the clean meats, right? Because we're going to get to that. So we see that it said in verse 3, every moving thing that lives shall be meat for you. What else?
Even as the green herb have I given you all things.
Go ahead, verse 4.
But flesh with the life thereof, which is the blood thereof, shall ye not eat.
So you're not going to eat the flesh with blood in it. You know, if you like eating your burgers medium rare and it still got blood in it, no, you're not going to do that. If you like eating your steak medium rare, you're not going to do that because it says what? Life is in the blood. So it says, which is the blood thereof shall ye not eat. What's that in verse 5 though?
And surely your blood of your lives will I require. At the hand of every beast will I require it.
Go ahead.
At the hand of man, at the hand of every man's brother will I require the life of a man.
So now you see that now, shoot, you know, our life going to be required at the hand of animals as well, even at the hands of man. All this came from the conversation that played out with Adam and Eve in the Garden of God. This is the consequences behind it. But, you know, that's a whole nother class. But what we're dealing with is dietary law. And we seeing is that now we go out and catch us some deer. We go out and catch us, you know, some salmon. You know, we can go out and catch clean animals, bring them in our house, clean them up, and cook them and eat them. That's what we get in there. That's why we saw that now. The Lord said in verse 3, every moving thing that lives shall be meat for you. Not catfish. You know, not no shrimp. You know, because we're going to cover that. We're going to see in the class that every living thing that shall be meat, we're going to see is, we're talking about clean foods. That's it on verse 5? Yeah, let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 14. Let's take a look at the dietary law. We're gonna deal with both of them, Deuteronomy and Leviticus. You know, because Deuteronomy, it actually paints out the picture and the names for you. You know, Leviticus, they the same dietary law. Leviticus just goes a little more detailed. It covers it all, from creeping things, which would be insects, to, you know, fowls of the air, to lizards, to snakes. That's what Leviticus covers. But we want to take a look at the Deuteronomy 14, is so that you put a picture out of your mind as to what clean animals God referring to that we are supposed to consume. Alright, so let's pick it up at Deuteronomy chapter 14, and let's pick it up at verse 1. Deuteronomy chapter 14, verse 1. When you get my brother, go ahead and read.
Ye are the children of the Lord your God.
Go ahead.
Ye shall not cut yourselves, or make any baldness between your eyes for dead.
Go ahead.
For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord hath chosen thee to be a peculiar people unto himself, above all the nations that are upon the earth.
And that goes all the way back to Exodus 19. You know how God established this covenant with the nation of Israel. He said, you're a peculiar people, above all people, for the earth is God. You got to realize, like, if God established Israel this way, then why are we, misleading people to hate? We supposed to be telling people, hey, you know what, man? Like, nah, you're not supposed to be eating that. God don't like that. The Jesus that you think nah, he has a strict dietary law that you're supposed to abide to until his coming. Along with many other commandments as well. But guess what? If you can't get your appetite under control, then it's going to be hard for you to even want to keep the Sabbath day. It's going to be hard for you to even want to stop committing adultery. You know what I mean? Or it's going to be hard for you to do away with Christmas. So if you can't keep your appetite in check, like, you might as well scratch all the other law, statutes, and commandments. Because you're going to be judged off of that as well. So he says that even God said that what? The Lord have chosen thee to be a peculiar people, right? But what he said in verse 3, bro?
Thou shalt not eat any abominable thing.
You see what God called these animals? The ones that he told Noah to take into the ark 2 by 2, which are the unclean. He called them abominable things. What else he said in verse 4?
These are the beasts which ye shall eat.
Now you see how he said in verse 3, don't consume abominable things. So now he go right in verse 4, letting you know that, guess what? You do have something you can't eat. Let's read it. Go ahead.
The ox.
The ox.
The sheep.
Keep going.
And the goat.
So the ox, it's either the ox, the cow, or buffalo. They all are of the same kin. Those is what you can consume. We see the sheep and the goat. What else?
The hart.
Keep going.
And the roebuck.
So we're looking at what? Deers. If I'm not mistaken. The hart is like a young deer, if I'm not mistaken. But we see is that God is giving you clean animals to eat. And you can take these things and Google them. And it'll give you pictures. Just let you know how simplicity it is in God. It's real simple. It's not complicated. It's about what we saw Noah did in the beginning in Genesis chapter 6. He did everything what God told him to. That's where it begins at. It begins with you being obedient. So guess what? If you don't be obedient, this is going to be very hard for you. It's because you're going to justify every cause is, they got GMOs and this and that in the chicken. Like, is it still considered a clean? Is it still considered to be clean? Yeah, it's chicken. You want to eat it because it's genetically modified? All right, it's better than you eating some pork. I eat GMO chicken all day before I eat pork. Because we're going to see inside of this class that that's something that you're not supposed to consume, swine. But what we're dealing with right now, we see is that verse 4 says, these are the beasts which ye shall eat, the ox, the sheep, the goat, the hart, the roebuck, the fallow deer. What else?
And the wild goat.
Keep going.
And the piker.
Go ahead.
And the wild ox.
Go ahead.
And the camels.
Keep going. Verse 6.
And every beast that parteth the hoof, and cheweth, and cleaveth the cleft into 2 claws, and cheweth the cud among the beasts that ye shall eat.
So God just gave you a description that, okay, all right, if I ain't cover all of the animals, because like I always show with Brother Josh, like even giraffe, they fit this criteria. You know what I mean? So you can consume on a giraffe. You know what I mean? But we didn't see it in the description, but guess what? It fits the qualifications of part of the hoof, it cleave the cleft into 2 claws, and it chew the cud. So that means it's always chewing. You know what I mean? That means his foot look like a cloven leaf. And that means what? It says in where is that? And it says in cloven hoof, and the cleft, cleave the cleft into 2 claws and a hoof. So it got to have 3 of the characteristics in order for you to consume it. See, God just gave you a list of them in verse 4 and 5, but then he said, hey, you know what? If I didn't cover them all, I'm giving you the qualifications that they have to have in order for them to be consumed. They have to have all three. They can't have one of the three or two of the three. They have to have all three. So we see is that God said, among the beasts that ye shall eat. Let's get to verse 7 though. Go ahead.
Nevertheless, these ye shall not eat of them that chew the cud, or of them that divide the cloven hoof.
They see is God gave you two examples. He said, nevertheless, ye shall not eat of them that chew the cud and divide the cloven hoof. We see in verse 6, he gave you three, letting you know that these are animals that you can consume. They have to have the three characteristics. Now we see in verse 7, these are the animals you can't eat because why? They only have two of the three characteristics. So he said, nevertheless, ye shall not eat of them that chew the cud or of them that divide the cloven hoof. What are they? Go ahead.
As the camel,
Go ahead.
and the hare,
Keep reading.
and the coney.
So we see is that the camel is on the list. They got a big X by it, can't eat it. You know what I mean? Then we see what? The coney, and we see the hare. Well, the hare, I think that's what a rabbit. All right, but then we see the coney. It's like look like a hamster, a huge version of a hamster, or it's just a rat. You know. But then also, what else it say?
For they chew the cud, but divide not the hoof.
You see that God is very simple, man. Like this stuff is not complicated. You know, God is drawing this picture out for you very clear. And he said, these animals, what? For they chew the cud, but divide not the hoof. Go ahead. Therefore they are unclean
unto you.
Go ahead, verse 8.
And the swine,
Go ahead.
because it divideth the hoof, yet cheweth not the cud.
Now we see it says swine. We know what swine is. You can call it swine, you can call it pork, you can call it pig, you can call it hog, whatever little name you want to call it, it's on the unclean list. Something you can't consume. You know, you can't have your, double cheeseburger with bacon on it. Now if you got turkey bacon, then that's different. But you can't have your pork ribs. Now they got beef ribs. So you got to realize, like, God gave you the ox. He even gave you the wild ox. He gives you animals that, I can substitute this for pig. I can put me some beef ribs on this, and I can slow cook them just like I used to cook these ribs, these pork ribs. I can do the same exact thing with the beef ribs. But we see is that God said at the top of verse 8, and the swine, because it divide the hoof, yet chew not the cud. Go ahead.
It is unclean unto you.
Go ahead.
Ye shall not eat of their flesh, nor touch their dead carcass.
Now, there's nothing wrong with you having a pet pig. If you want to have your little, because my daughter, she always asking for animals. She always asking for animals. And I think one day she asked for a pet pig because she saw Wilbur the pig, the little TV show. And she saw how small it was and it was so cute. Well, guess what? It's not a carcass. She can have that as a pet. She can have a coney as a pet. She can have a rabbit. I used to have a rabbit when I was in the 6th grade. Or maybe the 3rd grade, but I had a pet rabbit. Because why? It wasn't a carcass. You know what I mean? So that's why we see in the bottom of verse 8, it's letting you know not to touch it if it's dead. Alright? But what is it saying in verse 9 though?
These ye shall eat of all that are in the waters. All that have fins and scales shall ye eat.
The Lord just covered it. It's real clear. Like the example I was making about, how men go in the ocean and catch these, these vicious sea animals, like the great white shark. It don't have scales. You can't eat it because it has to have both. I used to go to the Whole Foods, the farmer's market, and they used to have a whole shark right there on display. And I'm like, seriously? It looked like you don't contaminate the whole area with all the other fish. Because we're going to see in Leviticus chapter 11 is that can be the case. Like something unclean can contaminate something that's clean through the water. But we see is that what God said in verse 9, they have to have fins and scales. That's real simple, brothers and sisters. Very simple. Catfish don't have scales. They may have fins, but they don't have scales. Shrimp don't have fins or scales, if I'm not mistaken. Crabs, they don't have it. Lobsters, they don't have it. You got to get rid of all of that. Because you got to realize God is going to deal with those that are breaking his dietary law. He's going to. Alright? So we see is that what the Lord said, it has to have fins and scales. Alright? And this Jesus we're reading from. Jesus is the one that's giving this commandment. This is the one that's given his commandment to Moses. And Moses putting it down in the law. Letting you know what you can eat, what you can't eat. Sweet Jesus. The one that everybody say love. The one that say that, hey, he died for our past sins. That's what he died for. But guess what? He gave this law. And inside of this law, we read is that, hey, you got food you can eat and food you can't eat. And we see that whatever's in the water, it has to have fins and scales. What else in verse 10, bro?
It says, and whatsoever have not fins and scales, ye may not eat. It is unclean unto you.
Unclean. Verse 11.
Of all clean birds ye shall eat.
You see that like God giving you a great amount of food that's clean that you can eat. Right? We see in verse 5 and 4 and 5, God gave you clean animals to eat. Not even in verse 12, verse 7, he said, of all clean birds you shall eat. Right? What did he say in verse 12 though?
But these are they of which ye shall not eat.
Go ahead.
The eagle, and the ossifrage,
Go ahead.
and the osprey,
Keep reading.
and the glebe, the kite, the vulture after his kind,
Go ahead.
and every raven after his kind, and the owl, the nighthawk, and the cuckoo, and the hawk after his kind.
So you go and Google all these animals. You can Google them. That's how advanced technology is that you can Google every animal and see an image, and you'll immediately already know, nah, I can't eat that. That's not considered poultry. All right. We see is that it said the glebe, the kite, vulture, after his kind. So that means the vulture, whatever's related to him, you can't eat it. Like if he got cousins and uncles, in the same classification as the vulture, like, nah, you can't eat it. Keep reading though, bro.
The little owl, and the great owl, and the swan.
Go ahead.
And the pelican, and the gier eagle, and the cormorant.
Go ahead.
And the stork, and the heron, after her kind, and the lapwing, and the bat.
Go ahead.
And every creeping thing that flieth is unclean unto you. They shall not be eaten, but of all clean fowls you may eat.
You may eat clean fowl. Let's say in verse 21 though.
You shall not eat of anything that dieth of itself.
So you can't eat anything that died of itself. That's letting you know if the animal was sick. A clean animal. Not unclean, a clean animal. If it was sick and it had some type of illness going on with inside of it and it just dropped dead, like, no, you can't eat that. If it's the end of the world and the animal just so happened to drop dead because his heart was exhausted and he died of a heart attack, and it's a cow, you can't go over and clean that bad boy up and eat. Nah, you can't. You got to figure something else out. These are some of the foolishness that you hear when, people try to want to justify what they can't eat as contrary to what God has given them. They come up with these odd questions. Well, what if it's the end of the world and, hey, I got a dog and I got dog food. Like, which one do I prefer to eat? The dog food, bro. Eat the dog food. Like, you can't eat the dog. You need to eat the dog food. I've had this question asked me. It's crazy. Just because even that person, he didn't want to deal with the word of God. He didn't want to hear nothing pertaining to the word after that conversation. All he was doing was just judging everything I was doing. You know what I mean? Just watch me and just saying, see, you're not perfect. You did this, you did that. What you talking about, bro? Like, I just gave you what thus said the Lord. The Lord said that, clean and unclean. You can't judge me because I ran through a yield of a light. You know what I mean? Like, you can't do that, bro. We talk about the law of God. You can't judge me because I ain't put my turning signal on and I made a left-hand turn. That's what it came down to. Alright? So we see is that what? God said in verse 21, if it die of itself, you can't eat it. What else he said?
Thou shalt give it unto the stranger that is in thy gates.
Go ahead.
That he may eat it.
Keep reading.
Or thou mayest sell it unto an alien.
So you giving it to a stranger or the alien. They one of a kind. They're the same. It's of another nation. But guess what? You can't give it to, another nation. They don't cleave them to the house of God. If they keeping the commandments of God, like you can't be like, nah, you the stranger. Here goes some unclean, some animal that died of itself. Nah, because they keeping the same dietary law as you are. We talking about those that's of another nation that's not dealing with the word. That's who you can give it to because they're not looking at the dietary law. They're not. Right? So we see that what? It says you can even sell it to the aliens. And what else?
For thou art an holy people.
Go ahead.
Unto the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not see the kid in his mother's milk.
And that's just talking about what a baby goat. You know what I mean? Like you can't kill him at such a young age. He's still eating his mother's milk. You know what I mean? So you're not supposed to make it a dish at such a young age because he's still breastfeeding. That's what it said when it says see the kid in his milk. But what it said in verse 22 though?
Thou shalt truly tie.
Let's sit on that. Let's go over to Leviticus. Yeah, you doing a lot of reading. Let's go to Leviticus chapter 11. Because Deuteronomy, it didn't cover all the unclean. We went to Deuteronomy just to see how God clearly draws out to you what animals you can consume that is clean. God gave you a list. Alright, so now we better go into Leviticus chapter 11 and we better look at the remaining of the dietary law, what we didn't cover in Deuteronomy chapter 14. So we're going to pick it up at Leviticus chapter 11 and let's pick it up at verse 27. Leviticus chapter 11 and verse 27, because inside of Leviticus, it's going to even draw out like, hey, guess what? If your pots, which you cook with, come into contact with something that's unclean, hey, you can do something about it. You don't have to go, the spoon out or the plates out if something unclean came on it. No, there's a way to deal with that. That's what we're going to see inside Leviticus. All right? So let's pick it up at Leviticus chapter 11 and verse 27. When you get it, go ahead and prophesy, bro.
And whatsoever goeth upon his paws among all manners of beasts that go on all four, those are unclean unto you. Whoso toucheth their carcass shall be unclean until the evening.
So you even got poachers that hunt down tigers. You know what I mean? Like they hunt down tigers, and what they do is they hunt down tigers for their teeth and their claws, but guess what they do with the flesh? They eat it. You know, they sell the skin, but they eat the flesh. You know, that's what we're talking about, those that go on pause among all manner of beasts. Because we're going to get to the domestic animals as well in Leviticus 11. But we're not looking at the domestic right now, I don't think. We're talking about those that go on pause on all fours. Keep reading.
And he that beareth the carcass of them shall wash his clothes and be unclean until the evening. They are unclean unto you.
And this is the domestics. Yeah, the domestics is in here right here that go on all fours. It says, whatsoever go up on his paws among all manner of beasts that go on all fours. So yeah, this would be your dogs. You know, because we know that what's going on over there. I was talking to the brothers, you know what I mean, as we were driving up. As to like in certain parts of Asia, dog is a delicacy. It's very huge. You know, and I was looking at a documentary on Netflix, and like in certain parts of Asia, it's kind of like you trying to find some lamb. You only can find the lamb at a certain location. That's the same thing how they dealing with these dogs over there. So I saw a dog head on a platter. I was like, man, that's so disgusting. Just because of that, like in your mind, you just so familiar with dogs running around yards, playing with kids, or running wild through the neighborhood. You're not used to seeing a dog on somebody's platter. But that's what's going on. You know, everybody want to say that they all are tied to God. That's crazy because, like, you know, people always make statements about, well, as long as they serve him that way, and you serve him that way, and she serve him that way, we all serve it, so we all meet at a common ground. That's not true because the God that we serve, he's given us strict things to not consume inside of our bodies. So if he's giving you rules of the game, teaching you how to serve him, they're like, oh, you can't do it your way. They doing it the way, they're not dealing with the same God. You know, or they doing it their way, they're not dealing with the same God. The God of Israel is giving you a strict way, and guess what? If you don't get on his, if you don't get on his team, guess what? Guess what team you gonna be on? You're gonna be on Satan. And guess what? Satan in game. He's gonna be burning the lake of fire. Him and the beast and the false prophet. That's the team that you're gonna be rolling with. So what you need to realize that everybody who's serving God is not serving the true and living God. Because the true and living God, we know with Deuteronomy 14, we even saw in Genesis how God gave us a dietary law all in the beginning in the days of Noah. Now we come in the days of Moses, and we see is that this law still exists. We're going to go to the New Testament, and we're going to see that this law still is good. All right? So we see is that now in Leviticus chapter 11, we saw in verse 27, verse 28, we in 28 now, but in 27, the Lord was saying, whatever go up on all fours, cats, like, nah, you can't eat them either. You know, a lot of slick stuff is going on at these Asian restaurants. That's why I don't eat Chinese food. You know, because they throwing whatever in the mix. It might be dog meat, it might be cat meat, it might be rat meat. Who knows? But my best bet is to just stay clear from it all and just remain whatever I can see and cook. That's what I'm going to eat. You know? So we see is that now, what? The Lord said in 27, whatever go upon all four paws, like they unclean unto you. Verse 28. Read again one more time.
And he that beareth the carcass of them shall wash his clothes and be unclean until the evening. They are unclean unto you.
So they are unclean unto you until the evening. The evening is like, shoot, if I went outside, it was a dead cat right there and I stepped upon it, I'll just be unclean until the evening of today. That's what he's talking about. You'll be unclean until the evening. Now, if it hadn't passed the evening, then you'll be unclean until the evening of the very following day. All right? But it says what? If what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to wash your clothes. Because, you know, that's a sign of purification. Alright? So we see that what? It says, and he that bear the carcass of them shall wash his clothes and be unclean until the evening. What is it in verse 29, bro?
Verse 20. Thee also shall be unclean unto you among the creeping things that creep upon the earth.
Go ahead.
The weasel and the mouse.
The mouse. Go ahead.
And the tortoise after his kind.
And man, I'm from Florida. I'm from here. You know what I mean? I got cousins that, like, you know, they used to catch them old big soft-shell turtles. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Catch them and cook them. Make them a nice little jumbo with it. But God is letting you know, man, they're unclean. You got to come away from it. Because God is letting you know, hey, man, you can't eat no weasels. You can't eat no mouse, no tortoises. You can't eat any of that. What did he say in verse 30, though?
And the ferret, and the chameleon.
Go ahead.
And the lizard, and the snail, and the mole.
So the snail, the mole, the lizard, the chameleon, the ferret, you can't eat that. What is it in 31, though?
These are unclean to you among all that creep. Whosoever doth touch them, when they be dead, shall be unclean until the evening.
Keep reading, verse 32.
And upon whatsoever any of them, when they are dead, doth fall, it shall be unclean.
You see that? So now they unclean and they fall on your shoe, or they fall on, you know, some cooking utensils. We're going to cover that. It's going to say it. But I ain't going to get too ahead of myself. But it says, when they are dead, do it fall. Go ahead.
Start right there. Just continue.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Okay. Whether it be any vessel of wood, or raiment, or skin, or sack, whatsoever vessel it be, wherein any work is done, it must be put into water.
You see that? He said wood. So if you cook it with wood and fall on it, or it said even raiment, that's your clothes. You know, if it fall on that, or it even says skin or sack, whatever you carrying it in, or if it get on your skin. Then he also said, whatsoever vessel it be, wherein any work is done, so wherever the work is done. You know what I mean? If it fall on it, guess what you got to do? You got to put it in water. And it shall be unclean until evening. So shall be cleansed. So the water is where they got to go in to purify it, but you're still going to be unclean until the evening. Whatever utensils you use, well, we're going to get to that. What is it in verse 34? I'm sorry, verse 33.
And every earthen vessel whereinto any of them falleth, whatsoever is in it shall be unclean, and ye shall break it.
So even if it fall inside of, you know, a pot full of chicken, I can just make that unclean. But you can purify by washing it. Alright? That's what we're reading right here. It says, and every earthen vessel whereunto any of them falleth, whatsoever it is in it shall be unclean, and ye shall break it. What is it in verse 34?
Of all meat which may be eaten,
Go ahead.
that on which such water cometh shall be unclean.
Go ahead.
And all drink that may be drunk in every such vessel shall be unclean.
You see that? So the unclean can't contaminate clean. That's what we're reading. It says, of all meat which may be eaten, that of which such water comes shall be unclean. And all drink that may be drunk in every such vessel shall be unclean, right? But keep reading though, verse 35.
And everything whereupon any part of their carcass falleth shall be unclean, whether
Go ahead.
whether it be oven
So now we getting at cooking utensils. Now we getting at what we cook here, right? So it said whether it be oven, what else?
or ranges of for pots,
Keep reading.
they shall be broken down.
So they're going to be broken down, meaning they're going to be clean. He going to say it. Go ahead.
For they are unclean and shall be unclean unto you.
Go ahead. Verse 36.
Nevertheless, a fountain or pit
So a fountain or a pit now, you can do what? Wherein there is plenty of water. Go ahead.
shall be clean.
So this is now how you can clean your pots. You know, if something unclean died upon or fell up in or whatever the case may have been, you got a family member that come in town and, hey, they don't know that you keep the dietary law and they cooking breakfast with pork in the pot. Like, nah, you tripping. You got to toss that out. Right? But you ain't got to toss the whole pot out. Nah, you can take the pot, wash it up, clean it. Whatever utensils they use, you can wash it up, clean it as well. It's still going to be unclean until the evening, but guess what purified it? The water. That's what we're reading, right? Everybody following that? So, all right, so now we see is that what? Because he said in verse 36, nevertheless, a fountain or a pit where there is plenty of water shall be clean, but that which touch their carcass shall be unclean. All right? But keep reading, verse 37.
And if any part of their carcass fall upon any sowing seed which is to be sown, it shall be clean.
Keep going.
But if any water be put upon the seed, and any part of their carcass fall thereon, it shall be unclean unto you.
And a lot of this is, you know, it can be done in ignorance. You know what I mean? Like there's a sacrifice for when you sin of ignorance. We can go read that in the law as well in Leviticus. But there's also no sacrifice for those that do stuff willfully. You know, you just willfully, you know, indulge in some, you know, baby back ribs. You know, from smoked bones. I used to be my little joint. You know, like, you know, nah, you willfully going against God. Nah, they don't remain no sacrifice. But we see is that, you know, you can go and see that, you know, there's things that's done out of ignorance. A lot of stuff, you know, we do out of ignorance because we may not read ingredients. You know, I advise you to read your ingredients. Because sometimes, like, you know, even with these little candy, they slick putting pork in them. You know, so you got to pay attention to things that you're consuming because if you, it's all about being aware and alert in truth. That's what it do to you because now you're afraid. Man, shoot, I ain't trying to go against God. So, hey, man, you sure those gummies ain't unclean? Like, no, I'm good with the gummy bears. You know, like, no, thank you. You know, better yet, hey, can I read your ingredient? I'll be doing that. You know, a guy who worked with me, he give me some book, I'll be like, hey, man, let me read the pack. I want to read it just because I don't want to be doing things, you know, willfully because I'm not ignorant of it, right? All right, but what is it in verse 39?
And if any beast of which ye may eat die, he that toucheth the carcass thereof shall be unclean until the evening.
Go ahead, verse 40.
And he that eateth of the carcass of it shall wash his clothes and be unclean until the evening. He also that beareth the carcass of it shall wash his clothes and be unclean until the evening.
So now we see is that you can get rid of, you know, your uncleanliness when you came in contact with an unclean carcass. The way you can get rid of it is purify yourself in some water. Wash yourself. Wash your clothes. Wash yourself. You're going to still remain unclean to the evening, but you went through the proper process of cleansing yourself of uncleanliness. All right? Let's say in verse 41 though.
And everything creeping, and every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth shall be an abomination. It shall not eat.
So we're talking about little bugs or whatever. You know, because he's going to give you some bugs that you can eat. So he's letting you know is that of every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, it's an abomination. What is it in 42?
Whatsoever goeth upon the belly, and whatsoever goeth upon all fours.
In my mistake, I think this is talking about snakes. That's what I think it's talking about. Yeah, he ain't got to the insects yet. So we talking about snakes now. He's saying whatsoever go on that belly, on the belly, whatsoever go up all four. Go ahead.
Or whatsoever hath more feet among all creeping things that creep upon the earth, them ye shall not eat, for they are an abomination.
And he even talk about alligators in this aspect. Because you got people, you know, they eat alligator meat. And that thing they say tastes like chicken. You know, that's always the saying, oh, it tastes like chicken. But it's not chicken. You know, because God gave you clean fowls of the air that you can eat. So now we even getting at, you know, what is a creeping thing upon the earth that's an abomination. He's letting you know if it go up on the belly, or whatsoever go up on all four, or whatsoever have feet among all creeping things that creep upon the earth, them shall ye not eat, for they are an abomination. Right? Verse 43.
Ye shall not make yourselves abominable with any creeping thing that creepeth, neither shall ye make yourselves unclean with them, that ye should be defiled thereby.
Go ahead.
For I am the Lord your God.
Pay attention to this 44th verse right here. You know, because this is what God is getting at. At the end of all of this, he is giving you unclean foods and clean foods. The clean foods you can eat, he even gave you clean insects you can eat. You know, he even gave you clean fowls of the air that you can eat. Then he gave you unclean fowls of the air. Animals that go up on all paws. He covered the whole animal kingdom. What you can eat and what you can't eat, right? So now at the end of all of that, he's going to let you know something. 44, go ahead.
For I am the Lord your God. Ye shall therefore sanctify yourselves, and ye shall be holy.
Go ahead.
For I am holy.
Keep going.
Neither shall ye defile yourselves with any manner of creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth.
Keep reading.
For I am the Lord that bringeth you up out of the land of Egypt, to be your God.
Go ahead.
Ye shall therefore be holy, for I am holy.
You see that? The Lord said, hey, I'm holy, so guess what? I brought you up out of the land of Egypt. I established this covenant with you. Now you are holy. Right? That's what God is saying. He said, I am holy. You are holy. Don't defile yourselves with these abominable animals. Because guess what? We saw is that, guess what? If you touch something that's of a carcass, it makes you unclean. You can clean yourself with the water, but even in the law, if you don't go through with the process of cleaning yourself up, now you remain clean. Are you considered holy in the eyes of God? Nah. You defiled yourself. So even when you eating a pork, you defiling yourself. Even when you eating shrimp, catfish, whatever that's contrary to the dietary law that God has given us to eat, you defiling yourself. Because God said he's holy, and if you want to be considered of God, then you are holy, right? 46, go ahead.
This is the law of the beast, and the fowl, and of every living creature that moveth in waters, and of every creature that creepeth upon the earth.
47.
To make a difference between the unclean and the clean.
So this is the difference. This is why the dietary law had to be established, because you can't be out here eating everything. Nah, you can't. So what we're going to do is we're going to give you the difference between clean and the unclean. That's what we just read. We saw that there is a difference. The clean, you have to have cloven footed, chew the cud, and you got to be cleft of the, meaning you got to have three of the characteristics. Chew cud, cloven footed, and claw the cleft. That's what it said in Deuteronomy. I want to make sure. It says you got a part of the hoof. That's what I left. You got part of the hoof, you got to be cloven footed, and you got to chew the cud. You got to have all three. You can't have two of the three. That's what we understood as far as in animals that are on the face of the earth. What's in the waters? You got to have fins and scales. That's what you got to have. Alright? He gave you a list of fowls that you can eat and not eat. But now we see is that it says make a difference between the unclean and the clean. Go ahead.
And between the beast that may be eaten and the beast that may not be eaten.
This is the law. Let's go over here to Psalms. Psalms 119. One verse we're going to read here. Psalms 119 and 142. Alright? Because we just saw is that God concluded the whole matter as, hey, I am holy. If you call yourself trying to be like me, you are holy. Alright? Don't defile yourself with these abominable animals. God has gave you the law of clean and unclean. Of the beast that can be eaten on the earth. Of the fowl that can be eaten in the air and the water. This is what God has given you. And then he said, this is the law. Now let's read Psalm 119 and verse 142. Psalms 119 and verse 42. When you get it, my brother, go ahead and prophesy.
Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness.
So the righteousness of God don't just end after the Sabbath is over with. You know, we keeping the Sabbath, we're being righteous. But guess what? After the Sabbath is over with, your righteousness is supposed to remain all into the coming of the Lord. The best way you can. Alright? So we see is that what? It says, thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness. And what else?
And thy law is the truth.
Thy law is the truth. That's what we just established. We just saw that according to the word of God, according to Leviticus chapter 11, at the closing of the dietary law, God gave you the law of the unclean and clean. That's what God gave you. So now we see that what? That's truth. That's what we just got finished reading. Let's go over and look at an example of that. Let's go to Ezekiel. Ezekiel chapter 4. Ezekiel chapter 4. And let's pick it up at Ezekiel chapter 4. Let's pick it up at verse 1. Ezekiel chapter 4 and verse 1. When you get it, my brother, go ahead and prophesy.
Thou also, son of man, take thee a title and lay it before thee, and portray upon it the city, even Jerusalem.
So now you know God is, speaking through the mouth of Ezekiel, and it's going to prophesy through Ezekiel pertaining to Israel going into captivity to the Babylonians. All right. Because now he's like telling Ezekiel, hey man, take thee a tile and lay it before thee and portray upon it the city, even Jerusalem. Read verse 2. Go ahead.
And lay siege against it, and build a fort against it, and cast a mount against it, set the camp also against it, and set battering rams against it round about.
Go ahead, verse 3.
Moreover, take thou unto thee an iron pan, and set it for a wall of iron between thee and the city.
Keep going.
And set thy face against it.
And set our face against it. God is showing you what's going to occur with Israel going to captivity. All right? So he said what? Set up a battering ram. He said set up a wall against it. Then he also said what? Moreover, take thou unto thee an iron pan. So he telling Ezekiel to portray an image. So this is the image that God is giving Ezekiel to portray. He said what? Take a pan and set it for a wall of iron between thee and the city, and set thy face against it, and it shall be besieged. Meaning an army is going to come in and take over. All right, keep reading though.
And it shall be besieged, and thou shalt lay siege against it. It shall be a sign to the house of Israel.
Exactly. This is a sign to the house of Israel, right? But skip down to verse 9, because we came here to look at Ezekiel the prophet. Did he just not read what we just read in Leviticus chapter 11, Deuteronomy 14? Did he not read any of that and he come up with his own agenda on what is to be consumed in the body and what is not to be consumed? Did he just come up with that? All right, so let's take a look at it. Verse 9. Go ahead and read.
Take thou also unto thee wheat, and barley, and beans, and lentils, and millet, and fitchets, and put them in one vessel, and make thee bread thereof, according to the number of the days that thou shalt lie upon thy side. 309 days shalt thou eat thereof.
So you're going to eat this bread. You're going to make this bread from barley, beans, lentils, millet, and fitches. And he said, you're going to eat this bread according to the number of days that thou shalt lie upon thy side. 309 days. Verse 10.
And thy meat, which thou shalt eat, shall be by weight, 20 shekels a day.
Go ahead.
From time to time shalt thou eat it.
Verse 11.
Thou shalt drink also water by measure, the 6th part of an hin. From time to time shalt thou drink.
Verse 12. Go ahead.
And thou shalt eat it as barley cakes, and thou shalt bake it with dung that cometh out of a man in their sight.
So he said, man, you're going to bake it with dung. That's feces that come out of a man. That's what you're going to bake it with. Because he's letting you know that Israel finna be taken down. And he said what? You're going to eat these cakes. In verse 9 he said, and you're going to make the bread thereof according to the number of the days that thou shalt lie upon thy side. 390 days thou shalt eat thereof. But if you read up through the chapter, those 390 days is going to be 390 years representing sin. But you're going to be in captivity. That's what God is getting at. So now he's like, hey, you know what? Bake it with dung that come up out of a man, right? That's what the Lord just said. Keep reading though. Let's see what Ezekiel said.
And the Lord said, even thus shall the children of Israel eat their defiled bread among the Gentiles, whither I will drive them.
And we in the captivity of the Gentiles. Like we've been driven to the four ends of the earth. So we eat the defiled bread of the Gentiles. You know, if you want to be a vegetarian, that's fine. But like you can't get away from everything that's defiled. You can't. You know what I mean? But guess what? By us being in captivity and we eating the defiled bread of the Gentiles, we don't have to pick up pork ribs. You know what I mean? Like we don't have to go against the commandment of God. Yeah, we're going to eat the defiled bread of the Gentiles, but the defiled bread of the Gentiles is not catfish. No, it's not. So he says that, you know, God is letting you know is that, guess what? Eat your bread that's going to be baked with dung that come out of a man. And also, while you in your captivity, you're going to be eating the defiled bread of the Gentiles. That's why everything you get now is not what it actually is. Like I was saying at the beginning of class, genetic modified foods, like, that's not real food. You know, but that's what we're getting is because we are eating the defiled bread of the Gentiles, right? Yep. But what Ezekiel said, verse 14, go ahead.
Then said I, Ah, Lord God.
So now Ezekiel said, our Lord God, go ahead.
Behold, my soul hath not been polluted.
Go ahead.
For from my youth up even till now have I not eaten of that which dieth of itself.
So now, you know, Ezekiel is back to God. We just read in Deuteronomy 14, Leviticus chapter 11. He's like, God, hold on now. You want me to eat my bread with dung that come out of a man? Like, I've never polluted myself. I've never eaten anything that died of itself. Or what else?
Or is torn in pieces.
Or it's torn in pieces. You know, that means a tiger came and, you know, just marred a gazelle. Like, you can't go and eat that. You know, you just stumble up on something that a tiger just killed. Like, you can't eat that. That's what Ezekiel was getting at. Now, you know, it's that, like, I've never eaten anything torn in pieces. You know, even Peter said that in Acts chapter 10. We're going to read that. But we see is that what? Ezekiel keeping them commandments, brothers and sisters. So he says that Ezekiel said, hey, you know what? I have never eaten of itself, torn in pieces. What else?
Torn in pieces, neither came there abominable flesh into my mouth.
So I have never went against your dietary law, God. You telling me to eat something that comes out of a man, that's unclean. I've never done that, right? So what God said in verse 15?
Then he said unto me, Lo, I have given thee cow's dung for man's dung.
So now he gave him a clean animal. You know what I mean? He said, all right, Ezekiel, you right. I'm going to give you cow's dung for men's dung. Because that's clean. Now, nobody don't eat no cow dung. But guess what? If you so happen to want to, it ain't unclean. It's clean. Right? Keep reading though, bro.
And thou shalt prepare thy bread therewith.
So this how you're going to prepare your bread, Ezekiel. You're going to prepare your bread with cow's dung. Because why? Cow dung is considered to be clean. Alright? That's what we saw in the law. That's even what God gave Ezekiel to cover his bread with. A clean animal. Let's look at this little article I had pulled up. The article I pulled up is from the AFP. And the AFP is on, you know, is the agency of the France and the press. Alright? And, you know, they say that the AFP is considered to be one of the most credible sources that are out here that, you know, give out information. Now, you know, some information you could read in between the lines and you could know if it's credible or not. But, you know, this is just an article that I pulled off the web, you know, and it's going along the lines of how that, you know, all these different religious organizations want to all bunch together and say they all the same. But they're not. The Bible is the one Bible or book that stands out from among all the other religious organizations. It stands alone. It stands by itself. You know, that's why the Lord said it doesn't need a mate. It stands alone because after we read this article, you're going to realize that if we was in certain parts of India, like, we'll be either getting hung, sentenced to jail for 7 years or life. That's what they got going on over there dealing with these Hindus. You know what I mean? And they look at the cow as a sacred animal.
Yeah.
But we just saw God gave Ezekiel, hey, you can eat the dung from a cow because guess what? You can eat that. That is considered to be clean in the eyes of God. So you can eat you some steak burgers or some beef steak. I'm sorry, some beef ribs. All right? So let's read this article. Just read the title of it and the source, which is ALP, and then you can read. Yeah, you can read.
Okay. Title is Muslim beaten to death in India for allegedly killing a cow.
Go ahead.
New Delhi, May 20, 2018, AFP News. A Muslim man accused of killing a cow was beaten to death by a mob in central India. Police said Sunday the latest vigilante murder over the animal considered sacred by Hindus.
So it's considered sacred. We not too much. We really don't care about the agenda of the Muslim. We just looking at, what's going on in India. You know what I mean? Like, they look at this animal, which is just a beast. That's all it is. You know what I mean? Like, God is not resurrecting cows. That's not what he's doing. It's just a beast, which can be consumed. But we see that a man was killed behind killing a cow. But keep going, bro.
Siraj Khan, a 45-year-old tailor, was attacked in Satna district of Madhya Pradesh state early on Friday and died at the scene. Local police official Arvind Tiwari told AFP Khan's friend Shakil Makbul, who was also attacked, was admitted to hospital with critical injuries.
So it was two men, or it probably was more men than that, but they're talking about one man was beaten to death. You know what I mean? It was protesters, and they beat one man to death. The other guy, they beat him pretty bad. He made it to the hospital. But go ahead.
As details of the violent assault emerged the weekend, 400 additional police were deployed to the district late Saturday as inquiries widened, the press trust of India reported.
You see that? Like, they got to call 400 police officers. You know what I mean? Over a cow. You know what I mean? Like, you see how they put more life in a beast than man? You know what I mean? Like, the beast that can be consumed, that is considered clean according to the Bible. But yet the Hindus or over there in India, they grab this and be like, nah, man, you can't come to our country eating beef. Because you see the outcome. Somebody was beaten to death. And they needed 400 police officers to call in and secure the area. Go ahead, keep going.
We have arrested 4 people. They have been sent to judicial custody. We are investigating what prompted the attack, Tiwari said. He added that meat and bull carcass was found at the scene, but did not elaborate as investigations were ongoing.
Go ahead.
Hindus consider cows sacred, and slaughtering animals or possessing or consuming beef is banned in most Indian states.
So it's banned in most Indian states. Go ahead.
Cow slaughter in Madhya Pradesh carries a maximum 7-year jail term.
So you get 7 years if you get caught with beef in your refrigerator. But we see is that God, that's letting you know, man, is that the Bible stands alone. A lot of these different religions is foolishness. But we see over there in India is that, man, you get 7 years. What else you get?
And many imposes life sentences for infractions.
So you get life. You get 7 years to life. Go ahead.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's ruling Bharatiya Janata Party, or he represents the BJP party, has promised to completely outlaw cow slaughter in India.
Go ahead.
The right-wing Hindu of BJP has been accused of turning a blind eye to a rising number of vigilante attacks in the name of cow protection.
So they turning their eye. Like, all right, they killing them cows. Shoot, y'all want to kill them? I ain't gonna see what y'all doing. Y'all go ahead and do what y'all need to do. Over some cow. That's foolishness. But keep going though. Where you at?
Right here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Rights groups say Hindu mobs have been emboldened under the party, who stormed to power in 2014. Many of victims are Muslims.
That's it, man. So what we looked at, we just saw that, just a little article. This is stuff that's going on in other countries. Like over there in India, they look at the cows like so sacred. It's kind of like they put them in the same classification as a high priest. So it's kind of like you killing a cow, you killing a high priest. You know, that's how carried away they get with this. We can understand that. How do you say that the ways Hindus believe or monks is even affiliated with the Bible? It's not. Because we saw that God gave what? Ezekiel cow dung to eat. Why? It's because it's considered to be clean. Not the dung of a man, but the dung of a cow. Alright, let's get back into the Bible. Let's go over to Isaiah 66. Isaiah 66, and let's pick it up at verse 15. Isaiah 66 and verse 15. When you get it, my brother, go ahead and prophesy.
For behold, the Lord will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind.
So he says this is the coming of God. This is an event that has not occurred, brothers and sisters. This is something that will occur in the future when the Lord returns. We're talking about sweet Jesus. You know, when he returned, it says, what? And ye shall leave, 66 and 15 says, for behold, the Lord will come with fire. You know, he ain't looking so sweet. Because he coming with fire and with chariots like a whirlwind. Go ahead.
To render his anger with fury and his rebuke with flames of fire.
He don't seem too sweet because he coming with rebuke with flames of fire. What else it says 16?
For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh.
Go ahead.
And the slain of the Lord shall be many.
So the slain of the Lord is going to be a lot. Because you're gonna still have people out here living loosely, thinking that they can serve God however they please or however it's fit. Nah, that's why we see is that the slain of the Lord is gonna be many. What else is saying in verse 17?
They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the gardens behind one tree.
Now we see is that verse 17 started out with they that sanctify themselves. God didn't sanctify them because we see is that what God did in Leviticus chapter 11. He sanctified those that, you know, are eating the clean foods. Even the booze he sanctified. We also saw that God said what? Be ye holy for I am holy. But we see right here in verse 17, it says they that sanctify themselves. That means they did their own sanctification, right? Keep reading. And purify themselves in the gardens behind one tree in the midst. That one tree in the midst represents Satan. You know, they still hiding behind this one tree. What they doing behind this tree?
Eating swine's flesh.
Go ahead.
And the abomination and the mouse shall be consumed together, saith the Lord.
So they all going to be killed. That's what the Lord is saying. It's like what? Man, you still eating swine flesh and whatever abominable animals I told you not to eat, you all going to be consumed together. This is at the coming of God. Keep reading though, verse 18.
For I know their works and their thoughts. It shall come that I will gather all nations and tongues, and they shall come and see my glory.
Skip down to verse 22 and read that, bro.
For as the new heavens and the new earth which I will make shall remain before me, saith the Lord, so shall your seed and your name remain.
Keep going.
And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, saith the Lord.
Verse 24.
And they shall go forth and look upon the carcass of the men that have transgressed against me.
Now this is in Jesus' kingdom. And inside of his kingdom, you're going to have the two men that transgressed against God, the beast and false prophet. It's going to be more than that. But they're going to hit the lake of fire before Satan. Alright? And they're going to have men looking upon their carcasses because they transgressed. What? They the ones that's out here got people deceived, thinking that all you got to do is pray over this food and it's good. We're talking about the Catholic Church. We're going to see it, but they're the ones, you know, they've been out here deceiving and being deceived. But guess what? They shall go forth and look upon the carcasses of the men that have transgressed against me for what?
For their worm shall not die, neither shall their fire be quenched, and they shall be abhorring on all flesh.
Let's go to Revelation 19. We look at the same scenario. Revelation 19, let's pick it up at verse 11. 19:11. When you get it. Revelation 19:11. When you get it, go ahead and prophesy, bro. Oh, okay. My bad.
Revelation 19.
Verse 11. Go ahead.
And I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse.
Now we're looking at the same wording, it's just worded a little different that we saw in Isaiah 66. Isaiah 66 opened up with, how the Lord gonna return with fire and with chariots. We looking at the same thing in Revelation 19:11. Letting you know that, and I saw heaven open, and what else? And behold, a white horse. Go ahead.
And he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True, and in righteousness he doth judge and make war.
So in righteousness he doeth judge and make war. In righteousness. I mean, like, he's not judging after his own eye or his own eye. No, he's judging in righteousness, because guess what? He gave you a dietary law. He gave you the commandments. He gave you the holy days. But we're dealing with the dietary law. You're going to be judged based upon that at the coming of the Lord. Skip down to verse 19 and read that.
And I saw the beast and kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse and against his army.
Go ahead, verse 20.
And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him.
So the beast and the false prophet, they were taken, that wrought miracles before him, and that also deceived the whole world. Yeah. All right? Because in Revelation chapter 17, it'll tell you about Mystery Babylon. Because all of the kings and, people that's in high places, even the earth, as drunken of the fornication. Meaning they don't drink the Kool-Aid. They've been deceived. That's what they don't done. So we see that now. It said, I saw the beasts and the kings of the earth and their armies, and they were trying to come together to fight against God. So God did what? And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him. Where they was taken to? Go ahead.
With which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that worshipped his image.
You said he deceived them that received the mark of the beast. Go ahead.
These both were cast alive into a lake of fire burning with brimstone.
That's what we saw in Isaiah 66. We saw that what? You're going to have men coming and looking upon the carcasses of those that transgress against God. Why? Because they deceive people by taking the mark of the beast. They deceive people by saying, hey, you know what? Christ came and died for our sins. You can eat what you desire. Just pray over it. That's what they came with. But guess what? They're going to beat Satan to the lake of fire. Because it says, these both were cast alive into the lake of fire, burned with brimstone. What's it in verse 21?
And the raiment and the remnant were slain with the sword of him that sat upon the horse, which sword proceeded out of his mouth, and all the fowls were filled with their flesh.
So all the fowls came and had a great feast upon their flesh. Let's go over to 1 Timothy real quick. 1 Timothy chapter 4. First Timothy chapter 4, and let's pick it up at verse 1. First Timothy chapter 4 and verse 1. When you get it, brother, go ahead and read.
Now the Spirit speaketh expressly that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith.
And that's what's going on. You know what I mean? Like, people departing from the faith. People don't even want to hear the faith. You tell them that 7 days is Sabbath of rest. They'll be like, man, I rest every day of the week. Is that so? Okay. Well, God gave us a particular day out the week to rest, reverence Him. Yeah, you can worship God 7 days a week. There's nothing wrong with that. But He gave you a day to rest from all your pleasures, from all your works. Whatever it is that's contrary to God, He gave you that on the 7th day. People don't want to hear that. So that's why, Paul is writing this letter to Timothy, letting you know that what? Now the Spirit speaketh expressly that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith. Go ahead.
Giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils.
So they're going to give heed, meaning they're going to listen to this seducing spirit. That's a doctrine of the devil. That's what it is when you feel as if you can eat whatever you want and pray over. That's a seducing spirit. That comes from the devil, right? But what it says, verse 2 though.
Speaking lies and hypocrisy having their conscience seared with the hot iron.
So their conscience is seared with a hot iron. You can't tell them nothing pertaining to the laws of God because what? They have no conscience because it's been seared with a hot iron. It's like you don't took an iron and burned their brains out. You know, because what? They don't want to adhere unto nothing pertaining to the word. Because what? It says they gave heed to these seducing spirits. So they are under the doctrine of a devil, right? What is it in verse 3 though?
Forbidding to marry.
Go ahead.
And commanding to abstain from meat.
So they forbid to marry and to abstain from meats. You got a doctrine out here that's a doctrine of devils telling you that you're not supposed to get married and you're supposed to abstain from meat. There's a doctrine. And it comes from a religious organization, not of the Bible, but of a religious organization associated with man. Right? So it says what? Forbidden to marry and commanded to abstain from meats. Go ahead.
Which God created to receive with thanksgiving of them which believe and know the truth.
And we just read the truth. You know, we read truth in Leviticus chapter 11 and Deuteronomy chapter 14 pertaining to meats that God has created for you to receive with thanksgiving. He's talking about clean meats. That's why he said what? Which believe and know the truth. Because that's what we read in Psalms 119. We saw that Psalms 119 and 142 said, your righteousness is everlasting. Thy law is true. We just read the law in Leviticus chapter 11. So that's why we see is that what? It says God had created to receive with thanks. He didn't tell you to abstain from meats. He didn't. Now, if that's your choice, that's your prerogative. But when you teach a doctrine, say that, nah, you can't eat this and you can't eat that, contrary to what God has given you, now that's the conflict. That's the issue. So that's why Paul is writing this letter to Timothy, letting them know in the latter days, like this seducing spirit has deceived people under the doctrine of Satan. Right? So what does it say in verse 4 though?
For every creature of God is good, and nothing to be refused if it be received with thanksgiving.
And we're talking about clean food. See, people will take this and they'll twist it 10 times to fit their stomach. Oh, I can eat whatever I want. Nah, because there's a church out here, and you know, it's the Catholic Church. You know, they're the ones that don't marry. But yeah, you can pull up a track record on their priests funding with little boys. Or you could read about the nuns. At least the nuns ain't laying with little boys, but you know, they fornicating and they commit all type of, you know, acts that's going against God. But that's why we saw in Revelations 19 is that the beast and the false prophet gonna be cast alive in the lake of fire because they don't deceive the world to take this mark. They also don't deceive the world behind this doctrine, forbidden to marry. So now you don't cause men and women to go in error against God because you out here teaching that you don't need to get married. You know, you need to be married to God. But you can't refrain yourself. So now you go on land with little boys, right? But what is in verse 5?
For it is sanctified by the word of God and prayer.
So these foods that's clean is sanctified by God through the word of prayer. Not just praying over anything. That's where they get it from right here in verse 5. Mm-hmm. You know, they read this, they be like, hey, you know what? It's sanctified and I prayed over it, so therefore it's good to be consumed. Not so. Not so. Let's go over here to the last 2 million years. This is another little excerpt. It's just talking about who gave you this forbidden to marry and to, you know, abstain from meats. So you can read the title. Read the title. That's the title, Growth of the Minds there. And then you can read highlighted. We read. Now you can read those two. And just read the title of the book.
Okay. The last 2 million years, we're reading the
Reader's Digest. Go ahead.
Reader's Digest, Growth of the Monasteries. In every country, the Pope had another powerful and dedicated instrument, the monasteries. The notion of withdrawal from the world to escape from its vices and seek salvation through self-denial and even physical agony was very old.
So you know the monasteries, they was put through different type of, you know, ceremonial rituals. You know what I mean? And you know, they faith was being tested. You know, they was put through rigorous whatever they want to classify as, but, that's what took place with the monastery. These are people that's within the Catholic organization. But go ahead, keep reading though.
Saint Simon Stylites, 390 to 459, says standard for victory over the flesh when he spent 35 years on top of a pillar 60 foot high at Telenessa near Antioch in Turkey. But the monks, as well as withdrawn from the world, also returned to it. Their energies renewed by prayer and meditation to carry out the word of Christ.
So, this is somewhat of the origin of Lent. This is what Lent is somewhat associated with. You know what I mean? Because, they say that Lent, it represents you being like Christ was 40 days and 40 nights, where they go 40 days without whatever, meat or whatever they desired after. You know what I mean? But what they do is before the 40 days come about, they indulge in it heavy. You know what I mean? So like whatever it is that they try to refrain from, they indulge in it like probably 48 hours straight. And then they go into the 40 days like, seriously, are you really trying to get rid of the flesh? Nah, you're not. But it's still foolishness though. All right? But skip now the next pink highlighted version.
The regalia required the monks to take vows.
So now we're talking about the monks. You know what I mean? These are supposed to be your so-called sacred people. The monks. Go ahead.
Vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience to their monastery was organized as a family under the abbot. Word comes from Greek abbos, meaning father.
Right. So now the scriptures pertaining to talking about, father, spiritual fathers. All right. But we see is that, they was gonna make. It says they made a vow. Monks made a vow of poverty, chastity, and obedience. This was within their teachings. They made a vow to be impoverished, to be chaste, and obedience, right? But keep reading.
The monks, life in 6th and 7th century monasteries was severe, but not harsh, being divided between sleeping, working, and praying. The monks had a pound of bread, 2 cooked dishes, and a measure of wine each day, though eating meat was forbidden.
So eating meat was forbidden. This is the monastery. This is what comes out up under the boat. This is your religious organization. It's even documented in history. The Bible don't need, any of these history books because it stands alone, but just letting you know is that the testimonies are true. The letters of Paul is true. Letting you know, that's it on that. Letting you know is that, hey, the Catholic Church is the religious organization that came up with, hey man, you forbidden to marry. But even if they try to replicate themselves of the priesthood had wives. Aaron had a wife because he had Nadab and Abihu. You know what I mean? He had kids. So he had what? Eleazar, he had other boys. He had children from a woman. So when they came up with this, it came from a doctrine of the devil. That's where it came from. So let the cat out the bag. Rome is the one that gave this doctrine to, forbid to marry or to abstain from meats. That's what Rome came up with, right? Let's go over back to the Bible. Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 13. How to charge up with that laptop? Start up pretty good. Let me use it. You good? Yeah. You give me that charge over there, Tony. That black charge. Let's go over to 1 Corinthians chapter 3. And let's pick it up at verse 1. 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 1. When you get it, my brother, go ahead.
And I, brethren, could not speak unto you as unto spiritual, but as unto carnal, even as unto babes.
So understanding is that this dietary law class is not just pertaining to something physical, because yes, God did give us physical foods to consume, but there's also a spiritual aspect behind it as well. The spiritual aspect behind it is like, seriously, I can get cut off from God from eating unclean foods? Yes, you can. That's what we saw in Isaiah 66. And then he's going to get the ones that's been deceiving the people according to Revelation chapter 19 and Isaiah 66. He's going to get them. But you are going to be held accountable under your own understanding. That's why the Bible says study to show thyself approved. So in other words, like, you can't be hiding behind these different other doctrines. Because he says that what? Even Paul writing this letter to the people in Corinth, letting them know is that, hey, I couldn't speak unto you as unto spiritual, but as unto carnal, even as unto babes in Christ. Letting you know that, like, nah, I got to simplify this thing. You know, I got to bring it down a notch. What he said in verse 2 though?
I have fed you with milk and not with meat.
So I fed you the simple things of the Word of God. The dietary law is the simple things of the Word of God. It's not complex at all. It's a very simple understanding, but obedience is key. That's all what it's about. So Paul is letting you know, it's like what? I fed you with milk and not meat. Go ahead.
For hitherto ye were not able to bear it, neither ye know are ye able.
So you're not able to bear the meat, so I got to give you the milk. You know, we talking about spiritual here. That's why Paul turned it out with, hey, and I, brethren, not speak unto you as unto spiritual, but as unto carnal. So now the conversation using meat as the weightier things of the Word of God, or the more complex things of God. Just understanding, that's it. That would be your meat, but the milk is what we're dealing with, the dietary law. That's simple. But like I said, it's all about obedience. But what he said in verse 3 though, bro?
For ye are yet carnal, for whereas there is among you envying and strife and divisions, are ye not carnal and walk as men?
And that's a rhetorical question. You know what I mean? Because, like, shoot, if you're amongst envying and strife, and you are carnal, then what? You walking just like a man. That means like you walk in the flesh, but not in the spirit, right? Skip down to verse 16 and read that, bro.
Know ye not that ye are the temple of God, and that the Spirit of God dwelleth in you?
And we talking spiritual here. You know, the Jehovah's Witnesses, they'll run here and they'll claim this as if like we talk physical. Nah, we talking spiritual here. Letting you know it's that like, hey, we supposed to represent the God family. You know, we call ourselves servants of God, so we supposed to be representing the God family. So that's why it says, know ye not that ye are the temple of God. And it says that the Spirit of God dwell in you. We talking about the Word. It's what dwell inside of us. But what he said in verse 17 though?
If any man defile the temple of God, him shall God destroy, for the temple of God is holy, which temple ye are.
So you are the temple of God. You holy. How you destroy your temple is by different doctrines. What you putting inside of your mind. So now you putting falsehood in your mind, and now this falsehood has got you acting out defiling, then like you defile your temple. You can also defile your temple with physical foods that you putting inside of your body. That's unclean unto God. Because what? God just gave you the law of clean and unclean. So now if you're going against the dietary law, eating unclean foods, guess what? You're not only killing yourself physical, you're killing yourself spiritual as well. Alright? So we see is that it says that if any man defile the temple of God, him shall God destroy, for the temple of God is holy, which temple ye are. That's what temple we are, right? What it says in verse 18 though, bro?
Let no man deceive himself. If any man among you seemeth to be wise in this world, let him come a fool, that he may be wise.
So you got to become a fool in order for you to be wise. That means you got to come out of the ways of this world. You know, if you think you consider to be wise pertains to what this world has set up, nah, you got to come from out of here. That means you got to make yourself a fool. That means you got to get rid of all the bad teaching that you've been put upside here, stored in your mind. You got to get rid of it all. Eating anything you want to and praying over it, that's what the Catholic Church gave you. That's what Paul was talking about in 1 Timothy chapter 5. Letting you know is that there's a doctrine out here that's a seducing doctrine that's of the devil. And guess what? It comes with abstaining from meats and forbidding to marry. Well, guess what? There's only one religious organization that comes with it. That's the Catholic Church. They are the ones that's been deceiving and being deceived. So even right here in 1 Corinthians chapter 3, Paul is letting you know that, hey man, you got to come out of the world or make yourself a fool. And this is how you'll become wise, right? Let's go over to Matthew real quick. We got a few more places. Matthew chapter 15. Matthew chapter 15. Let's pick it up at verse 1. Matthew chapter 15 and verse 1. When you get it, my brother, go ahead and cross up.
Then came to Jesus scribes and Pharisees, which were of Jerusalem, saying, Why do thy disciples transgress the tradition of the elders, for they wash not their hands when they eat bread?
So the question of the conversation is, why your disciples don't wash their hands when they eat their food, right? That's the question that's on the table. Let's see how Jesus addressed the question. Skip down to verse 5 and read that.
But ye say, whosoever shall say to his father or his mother, It is a gift, by whatsoever thou mightest be profited by me.
Go ahead.
And honor not his father or his mother, he shall be free. Thus have ye made the commandment of God of none effect by your tradition.
So now, you know, Jesus got at them with like, man, you coming at me with, you know, washing your hands according to the tradition of the elders. Well, why are you transgressing the commandments of God by saying that, you know, when a young boy or a young woman take care of their parents, it's as if like they're considered to be a gift to parent. As if like now a parent has to reverence or honor the child more than they should be reverenced because they're taking care of their parents. And now you have told them that, hey, they'll be free of their decision making. Now guess what you don't do? You don't make the commandment of God uneffective. Now you take off the table, honor thy father and thy mother. There's no honor there because, oh, I'm taking care of my mom, so guess what? Well, you need to have my food cooked, you need to have my house clean, you need to have my laundry washed, because I'm taking care of you. Those are your chores in my house, mom. No, that's not how it plays out. But that's what Jesus is getting at with Pharisees as to how you talking about the elders. You talking about washing your hands pertaining to the tradition of the elders. Like, no, you have transgressed the laws of God by setting up your traditions. And now you've made the commandment of none effect, right? Keep reading though. Skip down to verse. Well, no, keep going. Verse 8. Verse 7.
Okay. Ye hypocrites, well did Isaiah prophesy of you, saying, This people draweth nigh unto me with their mouth, and honoreth me with their lips, but their heart is far from me.
So we see is that Jesus is dealing with the question still at hand. Why do your disciples transgress the tradition of the elders? Jesus hit them with, why y'all transgressing the commandments of God? Then he also went into scripture pertaining to what Isaiah wrote of you, pertaining to your heart is so far away from God. But your mouth is, I want to serve the Lord, but keep this dietary law. Oh no, that's done away with. That was of the Old Testament. Your heart is far away from God. But yet you lip servicing God to death, right? That's what we saw in verse 8. This people draw near to me with their mouth and honor me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. What is it in verse 9? It ain't no handout, but read it anyway.
But in vain they do worship me.
You see that? Jesus threw out there slickly. You know what I mean? Let you know, hey, I am God. But guess what? Y'all worshiping me in vain. Y'all like let y'all know on the little sick look like, hey man, y'all worshiping me. That's why he said, but in verse 9, but in vain they do worship me, doing what?
Teaching for doctrines the commandments of men.
Verse 10.
And he called the multitude and said unto them, Hear and understand.
So hear and understand what I'm getting at pertaining to these Pharisees coming at me with this tradition of the elders. Verse 11.
Not that which goeth into the mouth defileth a man.
Go ahead.
But that which cometh out of the mouth, this defileth a man.
So that what goes in the mouth. I go to the bathroom to wash my hands, come back and eat my food. That's not what's going to defile me. Now, I mean, you might want to wash your hands, but if you don't, like, that's not what's defiling you. What's defiling you is what is coming out of your mouth. We're going to get at it. Verse 12. Go ahead.
Then came his disciples and said unto him, Knowest thou that the Pharisees were offended after they heard his saying?
Go ahead.
But he answered and said, Every plant which my heavenly Father hath not planted shall be rooted up.
So in other words, they're going to be cast into the fire. Because guess what? My Father didn't plant them. But you know what? He's going to root them up. And they'll be cast away. So verse 14.
Let them alone.
So leave them alone. Go ahead.
They be blind leaders of the blind.
So they be blind leaders of the blind, meaning like they ain't got no spiritual understanding. Guess who they lead? The blind. They blind. You know, that's why this doctrine is so far from the world, is because these spiritual leaders has been deceiving the whole world. Alright? So we see is that Jesus said, hey, you know what? Leave them alone. They be blind leaders of the blind. And what else?
And the blind lead the blind, both shall fall into the ditch.
Mm-hmm. Keep going.
Then answered Peter and said unto him, declare unto us this parable.
Go ahead.
And Jesus said, are ye also yet without understanding?
So are you yet without understanding, Peter? Like you're rolling with me. But yet, you still without understanding. What is it?
Do not ye yet understand that whatsoever entereth in at the mouth goeth into the belly and is cast out into the drop?
Go ahead.
But those things which proceed out of the mouth come forth from the heart.
So this is what's going to defile you. You know, because he clearly letting you know is that, hey, you know what? If you eating something that's clean, guess what it does? It processes through the body and goes into the toilet stool. That's what he's talking about when he says out the drop. So he said, do you not understand that whatsoever enter into the mouth go out the belly? Go into the belly and cast out into the drop. That's what takes place. So in other words, I'm not talking about something physical that you consume. I'm talking about what comes forth from the mind. That's why he's going to say what he said in verse 18. Go ahead.
And they defile the man, for out of the heart proceed evil thoughts.
So this is what defiles you. Out of the heart proceeds evil thoughts. Go ahead.
Murders,
Go ahead.
adulteries, fornications, thefts, false witness, blasphemies. These are the things which defile a man, but to eat with unwashed hands defile not a man.
That don't defile you. We're not talking about food. Food isn't even a topic of conversation. Food is just an analogy that God is using to let you know is that even with unwashed hands, that ain't what's going to defile you. What's going to defile you is what we saw with evil thoughts, murderers, adulterers. No, that's what's going to defile you. But even with unwashed hands, nah, man, that ain't what's going to defile you. Let's go over here to Acts. Acts chapter 10. Acts chapter 10. Let's pick it up at verse 1. Acts chapter 10 and verse 1. You get it, my brother? Go ahead and read it.
There was a certain man in Caesarea called Cornelius, a centurion of the band called the Italian band, a devout man, and one that feared God with all his house, which gave much alms to the people and prayed to God always.
This is somebody who would be an alien or a stranger. You're not going to give him unclean food. You know what I mean? Because that's what he's doing. He giving much alms to the people, and he prayed to God always. What else he did? Verse 3.
He saw in a vision, evidently about the 9th hour of the day, an angel of God coming in to him and saying unto him, Cornelius. And when he looked on him, he was afraid and said, What is it, Lord? And he said unto him, Thy prayers and thine alms are come up for memorial before God.
So your prayers and your alms, the Lord don't hurt you. They don't came up before God, right? Keep going though.
And now send men to Joppa and call for one Simon, whose surname is Peter.
So send men to Joppa. You need to go find this Peter. Letting you know is that like Cornelius wasn't an Israelite, because if he was, he would have did like he did with Moses. He would have started teaching them the law. He would have started breaking down to him, the dietary, a lot of commandments. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you to one of my Israelites who is Peter. And he's going to show you what it is you need to do. All right? Skip down to verse. Now, keep reading.
He lodgeth with one Simon, a tanner, whose house is by the seaside.
Go ahead.
He shall tell thee what thou oughtest to do.
I'm sorry. Skip down to 9.
On the morrow, as they went on their journey and drew nigh unto the city, Peter went up upon the housetop to pray about the 6th hour. And he became very hungry and would have eaten, but while they made ready, he fell into a trance.
So he went up on the rooftop by the 9th hour. He fell into a trance. He fell into a vision or a sleep, right? But keep going though.
And he saw heaven open and a certain vessel descending unto him, as it had been a great sheet knit at the four corners and let down to the earth.
Go ahead.
Wherein were all manner of four-footed beasts of the earth, and wild beasts, and creeping things, and fowls of the air. And there came a voice to him, Rise, Peter, kill and eat.
So we see four-footed beasts of the earth. Now we saw in the dietary law, we saw is that, you're not going to eat beasts that go up on their stomach and they got 4 feet. This is what Peter saw. He saw some unclean animals. That's what Peter saw in a vision. So it says, but I saw four-footed beasts of the earth, and wild beasts, and creeping things, and fowls of the air. So he saw some unclean birds. He saw some creeping things that God said in Leviticus chapter 11, you're not to eat anything that's of a creeping animal. Like, no, you're not going to eat it. But this is what Peter saw through this vision. And God said, guess what? Rise, Peter, kill, and eat. What Peter said in verse 14?
But Peter said, Not so.
So apparently, Peter, Ezekiel, they got the same number. Ezekiel said the same thing. When God told Ezekiel, hey, to eat the dung of man on your bread. Ezekiel said, God, I never ate anything that, was torn up, that was killed of another animal, nothing that died of itself, or an abominable animal. I never did that. Peter got the same memo, brothers and sisters. Because Peter said what? Peter said, not so, Lord. Go ahead.
For I have never eaten anything that is common or unclean.
So he sees that Peter didn't just go ahead and go against the grain. He didn't just say, all right, Lord. How you want me to cook it? Nah, he ain't saying it. He said, not so, Lord. For I have never eaten anything that is common or unclean. Right? Keep going though, bro.
And the voice spake unto him again the second time. What God hath cleansed, that call not thou common.
Go ahead. Skip down to verse. Now read 16.
This was done thrice, and the vessel was received up again into heaven.
So, this was done 3 times in the eyes of Peter, and he didn't do it not one time. He didn't give in. That's why the Spirit speaketh expressly. You know what I mean? Because, he could have been like, man, this vision from God. Should I eat it or should I not? Nah. He questioned within himself, but, he was good. God, not so. Well, I've never eaten anything common or unclean, right? Skip down to verse 24 and read that.
And the morrow after they entered into Caesarea, and Cornelius waited for them, and had called together his kinsmen and near friends.
Go ahead.
As Peter was coming in, Cornelius met him and fell down at his feet and worshipped him.
What Peter said.
But Peter took him up, saying, Stand up, I myself also am a man.
So stand up, man. I'm a man just like you. All right? What is it in verse 27?
And as he talked with him, he went in and found many that were come together. And he said unto them, Ye know how that it is an unlawful thing for a man that is Jew to keep company, or come unto one of another nation.
So he said, it's law to, for a man to keep company of another nation. Because I'm rolling with other nations, so, it's a law against that. But, he's going to give you the conclusion of the whole matter, that what we've been reading in Acts chapter 10 has nothing to do with food. Nothing. God just used food as an analogy, like we saw in Matthew 15. He used it as an analogy to let you know that compared to a man and a beast. Giving Peter the vision, showing him is that, hey man, now we finna deal with these other nations. Now the word of God is going to be considered to the world as a whole. But who are the teachers? Israel. This is who's going to be doing the services of God. But now this is the introduction of it. Letting you know is that God has shown me in a vision. Finish up.
But God has showed me that I should not call any man common or unclean.
So this is who he should call common or unclean. Man, not food. The food was just an analogy used to show you that God was planning to this man. All right, let's go to 1 Kings. 1 Kings chapter 13. So we saw Peter, right? We saw Peter like he was in a trance. Inside of this trance, like he could have been like, shoot, man, that 4-footed beast sure look tasty. God just told me, hey, to rise and kill. So you got to realize, even, within the back of your mind, if questions ever come to you going against God, you better check yourself and see if it's really of God. Because we can know what's of God, right? We've been just reading it. We've been reading the Bible from Genesis all the way to Revelations. That's what we've been dealing with. So we know that this got to be God. Why? Because we've been proving the Bible. That's what we've been doing. So, if you got some thought within your mind thinking that, hey, it might be okay to eat this because I just need to pray over it. Nah. We better be in error. We better take a look at it right here. We better look at an example behind that. At what God has told you to do, man, we read. So if you coming up with something contrary to what God has told you to do, and you can't read it, you better kick it to the side. So let's look at this 1 Kings chapter 13, and let's pick it up at verse 1. 1 Kings chapter 13 and verse 1. When you get it, go ahead and read it, bro.
And behold, there came a man of God of Judah by the word of the Lord unto Bethel, and Jeroboam stood by the altar to burn incense.
So we see that there's a man of God. Right? He came out of Judea. All right. He came to Jeroboam. Jeroboam, where he burned incense at the altar. All right. Skip down to verse 8 and read that.
And the man of God said unto the king, If thou wilt give me half thine house, I will not go in with thee, neither will I eat bread, nor drink water in this place.
So, Lord told the man of God, hey, man, wherever you came from, I'll go back to it. Make sure your path is full. Because if you double back on your path, I'm going to kill you. So, now, the king, he coming at the man of God because I think it already took place that the man of God healed the king. Yeah, the man of God healed the king. So now, the man of God is saying in verse 8, it's like, and the man of God said to the king, if thou will give me half thy house, I will not go in with thee. Neither will I eat bread, nor drink water in this place. Meaning like, shoot, you can give me half your house, but guess what? I ain't going in your house. I ain't drinking no wine, I eat no bread. Or drinking no water. I'm not doing it. Right? Because what verse 9 say?
For so was it charged me by the word of the Lord, saying, Eat no bread, nor drink water, nor turn again by the same way that thou camest.
This was charged to him by God. This is the reason why he couldn't go in and sit with the king and dwell with him. Because God said, hey man, don't eat no bread, nor drink no water, nor turn again by the same way that thou camest, right? Skip down to verse 18 and read that though.
He said unto him, I am a prophet also.
So now we see that the man of God, and you can read in between the lines. You can go back and read it because it is a good read. Is that now you got a man that came up. He heard about the man of God from his boys. So now he went down to the man of God and deceived the man of God by coming at him with like, hey, you know what? I'm a prophet also. You know what I mean? So now that's what we're getting at in verse 18. So go ahead and read that.
As thou art, an angel spake unto me by the word of the Lord.
You see that? An angel. He deceived the man of God. But guess what the man of God received? He received instructions. And the instructions that he received was from God. This is who gave to him. This is why, it's very careful. You know what I mean? As to, us walking with the Lord is to understand is that, deception can come by any way, form, or fashion. The man of God, he been played right here. A man came up saying, hey, I'm just like you. I'm a prophet also as thou art. And guess what? An angel spake unto me by the word of the Lord, saying what?
Saying, bring him back with thee into thine house, that he may eat bread and drink water, but he lied unto him.
You see that? He lied unto him. He planned the man of God. But the man of God, he received simple instruction. His instruction was, hey man, don't go back the way you came from. Don't eat bread with nobody, no drink water. Skip down to verse 20 and read that, bro.
And it came to pass as they sat at the table that the word of the Lord came to the prophet that brought him back.
Go ahead.
And he cried unto the man of God.
You see that? The word of the Lord came into the false prophet. You know what I mean? Now he crying. He crying to the man of God because his outcome ain't good. Alright? He to play out his outcome unto him right before his eyes. Because what? The word of the Lord came to the man that called himself the prophet of God. So read verse 21 at the top again.
And he cried unto the man of God that came from Judah, saying, Thus saith the Lord, for as much as thou hast disobeyed the mouth of the Lord, and hast not kept the commandment which the Lord thy God commanded thee, but camest back and hast eaten bread and drunk water in the place of the which the Lord did say to thee, Eat no bread and drink no water, thy carcass shall not come unto the sepulchre of thy father.
You see that? Now your carcass ain't going to come to the sepulchre of thy father. This is why it's careful. This is why you have to be careful. Because just like we saw Peter. You know, the vision was done to him 3 times. You know, he had to, like, he probably was troubling himself. Who knows? But it was done 3 times and he stood on the word. Not so, Lord. So this is what we must understand, is that, not so, Lord, like, nah, I got this dietary law, I can go and read it to you. Nah, I don't know what book you got talking about we can eat anything we want to. Nah, not according to the word of God. So even the man of God, you know, he got simple instructions, he was deceived. Now the false prophet is prophesying unto him his death. Letting them know is that, hey man, like, you're not gonna come to the place of your fathers, or you're not gonna be buried with your fathers. Where are you gonna be buried at? Verse 23.
And it came to pass after he had eaten bread, and after he had drunk, that he saddled for him the ass, to wit, for the prophet whom he had brought back. And when he was gone, a lion met him by the way.
You see that? A lion met him by the way. You know what I mean? Like he got on his horse, he got the instructions from the prophet, got on his horse, and on his way, it said a lion met him by the way, and what else?
And his carcass was cast in the way, and the ass stood by it, and the lion also stood by the carcass.
Ain't that something? You got a lion, and you got a donkey or ass, they stand there looking at the carcass. And that's all the hand of God, man. Let's go to further. Let's go into 1 Samuel. 1 Samuel chapter 15. 1 Samuel chapter 15. And you know, a question was asked on Q&A last Sabbath about your faith. You know what I mean? Can you have faith and still please God? You can't. You know what I mean? According to Hebrews, it says it's impossible for you to please God if you ain't got faith. You know, also I think somewhere in Romans it tell you that, like, if you don't believe, like, you would die. You gotta believe, brothers and sisters. Like, this is what we believe in. You know what I mean? So now by you believing, guess what? You gotta be obedient to your faith. You have to. You know, being obedient is what we finna see. Like, being disobedient gets you cut off from God. It truly can. So what you gotta understand is that being obedient to a spirit being that you never heard, seen, or like, that's your faith. But in order for you to believe it, you gotta have faith. They work hand in hand. Alright? That's why James said what he said in James chapter 2, is that you gotta have both faith and works. Alright? So even what God is about to tell Saul about his being disobedient to him. This is also coming with the string of you being disobedient to not keep his dietary law, which is still good today. So let's look at 1 Samuel chapter 22, and let's see what God said to Saul pertaining to his disobedience. 1 Samuel chapter 15 and verse 22. Go ahead and read, bro.
And Samuel said, hath the Lord as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of the Lord.
So it's like God got more delight in being obedient instead of you sacrificing animals. That's what God getting at right here. He said, and Samuel said, have the Lord as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of the Lord? Go ahead. The bottom 22.
Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to hearken than the fat of rams.
You see that? If the man of God would have been obedient, he would have been met by the lion and got marked, killed. Nah, he should have been obedient. That's just like us today. You know what I mean? Like, the only way you can please God is through faith. But even with faith, you got to be obedient. You have to. So we see even God said, guess what, man? Them sacrifices that you want to offer to me, man, your obedience is much greater. Right? Because he said, behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to hearken than the fat rams. But what he said in 23?
For rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry.
Go ahead.
Because thou hast rejected the word of the Lord, he have also rejected thee from being king.
So he said your rebelliousness is like witchcraft, and being stubborn is as iniquity and idolatry. You see that? Like, God is letting you know, it's that like, hey man, it's better for you to obey than to be a rebellion. Because if you're a rebellion, like, you like a witch. And what he let you know is like, man, you like a witch, doing like witchcraft, man. And your stubbornness is like you worshiping idols. That's what he's getting at. So letting you know is that the dietary law is still good today, brothers and sisters. This is why you got to keep it. You got to keep it. So let's go over and look at this Deuteronomy chapter 8. Because everything we've been reading, this ain't my word. But this is how you going to live. You know, this is the spiritual aspect to it. You know, because, like, you know, me eating, you know, a steak burger, like, that ain't going to give me everlasting life. No, it's going to look, it's going to be accounted good in the eyes of God. But, like, that steak burger isn't going to give me everlasting life. It's going to make sure I get to the status of having everlasting life because it's clean. What's going to give me everlasting life is this word that we're dealing with. This is what's going to get you everlasting life. That's why Jesus hit you from the spiritual aspect, letting you know, man, you eating with unwashed hands is not what's going to defile you. What's going to defile you is what's right here. That's contrary to God. That's what's going to defile you. Because what proceeds from here? Evil thoughts, murder. You know, you sitting up here lusting over another man's wife. Like, no, that's what's going to get you cut off God. But, you know, man, I go and pick my nose and eat my french fries after they pick my nose. This might be nasty. But, like, God wasn't getting at that. He wasn't getting at something physical. He was getting at something spiritual. That's what he was getting at. So let's get some more spiritual. Let's look at this Deuteronomy chapter 8. Deuteronomy chapter 8. Let's pick up at verse 1. When you get it, go ahead and read it, bro.
All the commandments which I command thee this day shall ye observe to do, that ye may live, multiply, and go in and possess the land which the Lord sware unto your fathers.
Keep going.
And thou shalt remember all the way which the Lord thy God led thee these 40 years in the wilderness to humble thee.
So the Lord led the children of Israel in the wilderness for 40 years. Led them in there, the ones that were stubborn and rebelled, and guess what? They died off. Why did they die? Because they was rebellion and sin. Alright? But the Lord said what? And thou shalt remember all the way which the Lord thy God led thee these 40 years in the wilderness to humble thee. That's what God is trying to do. He's trying to humble the nation of Israel to break them down so they can serve God. So they can, you know, circumcise the foreskin of their heart. That's what he's trying to do with the nation of Israel. But guess what he did? He had some of them killed. Right? But keep reading though, bro.
To prove thee, to know what was in thine heart, whether thou wouldest keep his commandments or no.
That's what it was. It's a proving ground. Just like we today. It's a proving ground. You're going to keep these commandments. You know? You're going to go hang out at one of your homeboys' cookouts and, man, that pork smells so good. You don't want to try and taste it again one last time? It's not worth it. It's not worth it at all. Because guess what? It's 5 minutes of the night. But depending on how far you take it, it's forever in the lake of fire. Forever. So 5 minutes of delight, or if you take it to the extreme of 5 weeks indulging in it, guess what? You just possibly got yourself a ticket to the lake of fire. So it may not be worth it. So it says what? It says the Lord, that's what he was doing with the children of Israel to prove whether they would keep his commands or no. Right? What is it saying in verse 3 though?
And he humbled thee and suffered thee to hunger, and fed thee with manna which thou knewest not, neither did thy fathers know, that he might make thee know that man doth not live by bread only.
So you live by bread well, but guess what? That's not what you only live by. Right? He said, because what? That he might make thee know that man do not live by bread only, meaning he went from physical to spiritual. You know, he fed the children of Israel with manna, and he said, hey man, this physical food, like, no, it's not what's gonna suffice you and take you to everlasting life. No, you need that right now in this flesh and blood body. But he's letting you know from a spiritual aspect. He said what? Finish that up.
But by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of the Lord doth man live.
This is how you're gonna live, brothers and sisters. By every word that proceeds out of the mouth of the Lord. This is how you live. Let's go over to 1 Peter. Last place. 1 Peter chapter 1. 1 Peter chapter 1, and let's pick it at 13. 1 Peter chapter 1 and 13. When you get it, my brother, go ahead and prophesy.
Wherefore, gird up the loins of your mind, be sober, and hope to the end for the grace that is to be brought unto you at the revelation of Jesus Christ.
So he said what? Gird up the loins of your mind. How you going to do that? By eating every word of God. This is how man lives. You live by the spiritual bread. So he says that God said what? Man ain't going to live by this manna. You're going to partially live, but you know what's going to take you to the next level is every word that proceeded out of the mouth of God is how man lives. So now we see Peter saying what? Wherefore gird up your loins of your mind, be sober, and hope to the end of grace. That is to be brought unto you at the revelation of Jesus Christ, right? What's that in 14 though, bro?
As obedient children, not fashioning yourselves according to the former lust in your ignorance.
So we was ignorant in our time past. That's why he said what? The form of lust. Alright? But what is saying in 15 though?
But as he which have called you is holy, so be ye holy in all manner of conversation.
Ain't what Peter quote back what we saw in Leviticus chapter 11. You know what I mean? He quoting scripture. Let you know is that like, be ye holy in all your manner of conversation. That's what he better do in 16.
Because it is written.
It is written, meaning it's of the scriptures. What he doing?
Be ye holy, for I am holy.
Be ye holy, for I am holy. Quoting Leviticus chapter 11, 47. If I'm not mistaken. It was in 47 or 46. No, it was in 45. That's when Jesus said that in Leviticus chapter 11 and 45 is that, hey, for I am God, be ye holy, for I am holy. Peter quoting the same thing, quoting scripture. What is it in 17 though?
And if ye call on the Father, who without respect of person judgeth according to every man's work.
You see that? He's going to judge every man according to his works. So if you're keeping the dietary law, hey man, the Lord is going to judge you according to that. Meaning you are righteous in his eyes, along with the other commandments. But we see is that, man, the Father, he's not respect of another person. Oh, okay, this brother keep dietary law, and I keep all the commandments. Like, nah, just because he kept the dietary law, that's not enough. Nah, it's not. He's short. Right? So we see is that what it says, and if ye call on the Father, who without respect of person judge according to the man's works, go ahead.
Past the time of your sojourning here in fear.
So here in fear, again, the dietary law. The dietary law. You are what you eat. I pray somebody got some understanding. I thank you for your time in Jesus' name. Peace. Praise the Lord. So now we get to the announcements.
Second announcements. Our prayer is that the eyes of your understanding were enlightened by today's lesson. DVDs and CDs of the lessons are available. Please place your order in the offering box, along with a donation if you give your DVD or CD at the podium next Sabbath. Please tune in to our Kingdom Come television program, which airs in various locations. Also join us for question and answer Bible study in about an hour from now, and every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, via live stream, and our teleconference at 860-970-0010. Access code 343-531-334#. If you feel you are ready to be baptized, please sign the baptismal list at the podium or speak with Brother Tony or Brother Anthony. On the first Sunday of every month, we broadcast the Bible in plain view. The broadcast gives brothers an opportunity to read and or teach a short 30-minute class. If you are interested in helping, please let us know. The following is the dress code for our services. All clothing should be modest in appearance. Nothing tight-fitting, overly baggy, sagging, or revealing should be worn. Men are to remove hats and all head covering, and women should wear a head covering such as a hat or scarf, according to 1 Corinthians 11, verses 1 through 7. If your young child becomes noisy during the lesson, distracting other members, please remove him or her to the other room next door. Any tithes and or free will offering should be put in the offering envelope and placed in the offering box near the podium. Pray for our strength as we pray for you into the next Sabbath. Peace.
Peace. All right, so we coming up on trumpets pretty soon. It's like on the 10th or the 3rd. Anybody? Nobody got no list on? What? Don't you got that list, Gerard?
Yeah, it's in that text message you saw it a while ago. You gotta go through it.
I know it's on a Tuesday. My bad. I said
Yeah, it's
Thursday.
on a Tuesday.
I said the 3rd. I think it's either the 4th or the 11th. It's the 11th. It's the 11th? Yeah, okay. So, I mean, shoot, man, we almost out of August, so we're coming into Trump next month. So, you know, nobody has, if anybody need letters.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely need one.
Okay. All right, cool.
Need a-
Just
Just job.
so if you need an excuse from your workplace, you retired.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Y'all retired.
Y'all trying to get it.
Y'all live good life.
Boy, that was-
Get up when they wanna get up.
Right. But
Ain't doing it.
if you need let's finish closing out right
This is
quick.
the actual level,
But what I do is I get your emails,
Okay.
or and yours, bro. You know,
Okay.
if you need a letter.
No, I got approved already.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, well just shoot me your email. Just write it down.
I put
And
after all them days in, the last time you was here when you were telling me the days,
okay.
I requested those days that last time you was here, so
Okay, cool.
I got approved for it.
Okay, cool. So yeah, those who need it, you know what I mean. I'll shoot it to you a link, and then you can have it. I think it's already signed and everything, so you ain't gotta really worry about necessarily somebody signing off on it. And but it's the 11th of September, and we'll be here at this location, and we do eat on trumpets for peace. So bring a dish, and that'll be practically it. You know, if any other questions, you know, definitely feel free to ask them. But again, you know, that's pretty much it, man. Just keep everybody in prayer.
Don't matter. That's
And
the days.
we face Jerusalem, close out. We'll come back up for Bible Q&A.
Our Father which art in heaven,
Our Father which art in heaven,
hallowed be thy name.
hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy will be done in earth.
Thy will be done in earth
As it is in heaven.
as it is in heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread.
Give us this day our daily bread,
Forgive us our debts.
and forgive us our debts,
As we forgive our debtors.
as we forgive our debtors.
Lead us not into temptation.
And lead us not into temptation,
But deliver us from evil.
but deliver us from evil.
For thine is the kingdom.
Thine is the kingdom,
And the power.
and the power,
And the glory.
and glory,
Forever.
forever.
Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord.
He is good.
For he is good.
His mercy endures forever.
And his mercy endures forever.
Praise the Lord God of Israel.
Praise the Lord God of Israel.
For he is good.
For he is good.
And his mercy endures forever.
And his mercy endures forever.
In Jesus' name we pray.
In Jesus' name we
The
pray.
Holy One of Israel.
Holy One of Israel.
The King of Kings.
The King of Kings.
The Lord of Lords.
The Lord of Lords.
The one true God.
The one true God.
And there is no
And there is no other.
Amen.
Amen. Hallelujah.
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 In Jesus' name.
In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen.
Appreciate you, my brother.
Amen. Anytime.
It's always good to have one.
Brother Tony.